Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Now McNabb using the far wall. Off the shelf. Eichel coming out. One of the Oilers goes down. It's a 3-on-1. Eichel shooting. He scores! Perfectly placed wrister.
Back to Martin. Into the Jimmy. Driving right baseline. He flips it around for two more. He has 26. Heat up 104, 95, 2:30 to go. Davis spins, puts it up, scores from 4 feet away to tie the game at 84, and a quick timeout by Steve Kerr.
Now the 2-2 pitch for Contreras. A swing and a high fly ball, center field. That's hit deep, and it is off the wall. Scoring Nootbaar. The throw into second, not in time to get Contreras, who doubles in the go-ahead run. Contreras, with his 10th double of the year, puts the Cardinals back in front.
I certainly don't ever want anything to be about me. I want it to be about our players and be about Nebraska. So what could be better in our first spring game together than to have it be something, an iconic moment, in terms of Coach Solich coming back. And hopefully that was something that meant a lot to a lot of people. The night before, a coach invited me upstairs. We had a bunch of his former players there. I'm taking a picture with Tom Osborne, Frank Solich, Barry Alvarez, and me. I'm like, my goodness, one of these guys doesn't belong,
Yeah, Barry Alvarez doesn't belong, right?
Well,
that's what he was referring to.
the Barry father.
It's Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers. Happy to have you with us here on a Tuesday. We are live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club. Last night I was at Topgolf for a Topgolf league that I'm in, which Topgolf is ridiculously hard for me. I am not good at aiming at a target. When I golf, put the ball down, let me hit it, give me an open fairway, just let me try to find some green grass.
That's not Topgolf?
No, that's real golf. This one is you have to hit it into nets, and I'm not very good at it.
Is that considered a fairway? How wide is it?
Oh, Topgolf is wide, but where the holes are.
Do you have to hit it near the hole?
Oh yeah, you got to get into the netting.
Oh,
yeah. So when you take a shot, you can't I guess you can roll it in, but more times than not, the better your shot is in the air when it lands into the net, the more points you get, because the closer you get to the hole.
Oh, I got you.
The more points.
So what are you using?
60-degree, my sand, my pitching wedge.
Yeah.
I try not to use my irons too much because I have too much of a right to left. And then I tried to figure out, okay, how do I hit it straight? So I'm going to
close your stance,
close my stance a little bit, and boom, there it goes straight. But
the anti-Paul Goldschmidt with the open stance.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you throw any popcorn at him last night when first and second and he took the collar? Or?
Nope, I just ate the popcorn.
That's okay, because they ended up getting the dub.
Yes, they did, and it's all because of Wilson Contreras.
Oh yeah, the double, right?
Yeah.
So when he worked Stroman, I think he got it to 3-2. Not that I remember, but it was 3-2 count, and you're like, he's caught this guy a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Think he's got a good bead. He's got a good bead.
Yep. And this is all coming after
at the top of the eighth, right? In the Cubs
drama, though.
Yeah, with their bases loaded, they. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's good.
And then drama in the game.
That's going to be interesting, right? Or not so much?
I think it's going to be interesting. The Cardinals don't like where they're at right now. They're really.
I jinxed it. I talked about the wrong manager then. Instead of Boone.
Yeah, it should have been Marmol, but they go in hand in hand.
You've been hating on him since the year started anyway.
No, I was trying to back him 3 weeks in. Remember when my buddy said,
yeah, and you're like, nah, I don't know.
Right.
But then I thought then
I jumped in.
Then you're in.
Yeah, then I jumped in.
So to Marmol or not to Marmol? Is that the question?
To not.
Really?
Yeah.
You've won 6 out of 10.
I don't know how much of that is Marmol.
6 out of 11. You're 6-5 in your last 11.
Decision making.
Yeah, kind of sketchy.
Is very sketchy.
At least your bullpen acted like it had a pulse.
Oh yeah, Helsley actually said, I know how to get 3 outs.
Yeah.
Or more. More times than not.
Seeing, who do you see? Mervis and Madrigal and somebody else in the ninth probably helps.
Was it a day ago that we saw Genesis Cabrera do the pump? Was that
2 days ago?
Was that 2 days ago?
Oh, I see.
Hi, Art. Good morning.
Goes back to all of our celebrations in sports that we talk about a ton.
Yeah. So it was very predictable after going extras against the Padres in an emotional game that the Brewers would be waiting for you at the house just to drop the hammer on you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's okay. They teased us for a little bit through the 6th.
You know what else was predictable? The Hawks getting the number 1 pick.
Yeah, I'm just glad Cody's happy. Hopefully Verz is happy.
I'm sure they both are very, very happy. Now,
Verz is he's a big Blackhawks guy.
This is the second time Anaheim has come up in second.
What's that?
In the lottery.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Can you tell me the other time? And it happened within the last, when would he have been drafted? I'm going to say 20 years. In the last 20 years, it happened. It was in like the 2005-ish range, I would say.
So it was, they didn't get Crosby.
They didn't get Crosby.
Yeah.
Yep.
How about that?
They came in second to Crosby, and now they're going to come in second to Bedard.
So how often do you have your team draft your guy? Does it happen a ton?
In hockey?
In general, what teams you cheer for? I mean, were you
Who's
an
my guy?
were you an Eichel guy in college? You're
Yeah.
like, oh, come on, Blues, draft Eichel. Or something like that,
Yeah,
right? Like
the Blues just never had a high pick.
the Steelers got Pau Mao, I can remember. Was like my favorite player.
They draft my guy.
Does that ever happen?
When the Bears drafted Fields,
you were a big Fields guy,
At
or
the
you just
time.
wanted them to take Fields?
I wanted them to take. Oh, I guess because he wasn't the top.
See, like
quarterback in the
I have an
draft.
because
I'm
you know
with
I like SC, right? I have it's an unreasonable.
Well, my guy this year would have been Jalen Carter, and they passed on him because I wanted them to take Jalen Carter from the beginning.
So, do you know what I'm saying though? When
Yes.
I
I
but
understand the question.
okay, so but the thing for you is you don't really have a college team,
Right?
do you have a college basketball team?
Not really.
Because you don't really like the NBA either. So it'd have to be baseball or hockey.
And baseball is just too widespread for the Cardinals to ever get the guy.
Interesting.
And hockey.
I know
the
you
Blues are
kind
just too good to
you
ever
kind
get
of
the one.
explained it the other day because you weren't going to be a Mizzou guy. I am surprised though you don't have a college football team.
Good news for me is it doesn't allow me to attach to a team.
You're just
so
what?
I'm a college football fan.
Like your thoughts? Why?
Yeah, I'm a college basketball fan because I'm very skewed when it comes to baseball and hockey because I love me some Blues. So I hate the fact that the Hawks have the number one pick because they're in the Central,
I understand.
because they're the Blues rival. But if he would have gone to Columbus, I would have been
You'd
okay
like,
with it.
go Columbus.
But I just knew that the NHL wanted him to be in a big market.
Yeah.
Now, is it rigged? Who knows? It all happens behind a closed curtain. Some people say it's not. Some people say it is. Well, that's because we can't see it. And if we did see it, I'll tell you what, it would be the most boring 2-3 hours of television of all time.
I'm with you.
All these guys are doing are picking bingo balls. That's all they're doing.
Q39.
Did you have to do a lot of research on like how that ended up working yesterday? Because I did.
No,
I
I just
was way too curious to let that pass.
Kind of skimmed. I didn't get into it.
So when I played in the Topgolf League, I'm with a bunch of the Omaha hockey guys. And first question I did when I sat down, I'm like, somebody explain to me the NHL draft lottery. And no one could really do it.
Yeah,
and so we were looking it up. Everybody had their smartphone out. And at one point,
you're
finally.
such an old man.
Why? Because I said smartphone?
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. Like, you're still in your 20s. It's just a phone. It's just a phone.
Phone with a screen with a picture on it.
I watched so that show Unforgettable.
The
detective sent his son a text because he's a tough kind of gruff cop, and his son's growing up, and some stuff was happening with high school kids, and his partner detective was like, "Hey man, reach out to your son. He's got a game today." So at the end of the workday, he finally sends him a text, and it's on a flip phone. That show must be pretty old.
555-688
like a Samsung 60 or something.
1114.
Well, I don't know, Damon. You were looking
I just
for
typed in hi.
You were looking for a hard line today, and I thought I thought you were talking about what you plug your computer into.
I said, is there a landline here?
So we're talking about landlines and smartphones today.
Yeah, something like that.
He does.
So the dude had a flip phone, and this is only from 2011. It's kind of weird.
Well, okay. Was it a burner phone?
Well, he's a police detective. I don't know. 6x9 smoking burners.
Could have been. Could have been a burner.
659 smoking.
Because my show, White Collar, they use burners all the time in their flips.
So that doesn't sound like a show I would probably get into.
White Collar?
Yeah.
Got to give it a chance. You gave Unforgettable a chance. You got to give White Collar a chance.
I stumbled into that miserable trying to find something on television.
You have Hulu, right?
Yes and no.
So does that mean you have ads? Like Hulu with ads if it's yes
so
and no?
like when I had Hulu, I definitely was paying the $3 or $4 to not have ads.
That's same.
Yeah, I'm not a. So this show Unforgettable is on Freevee. Freevee. It's like a lot of E's and a lot of E's in it.
I've never heard of Freevee.
You never heard of Freevee?
It's an Amazon thing.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, I have it. I just got it.
Little Rolodex. So yeah, like it gives you ads and you can't fast forward, but they're short. They're little. They're short ads.
Yeah, I'm such a non-ad person.
I don't like it that
Such a non-ad.
I don't like it that they don't have trailers. So you go through like your movie list and you can't see a trailer for it.
So speaking of which, when I was watching When Animals Attack
For Freevee
Sunday,
Mhm.
yeah, with writer Zoe. So I don't know. We're just scrolling through all this animal stuff, and by the way, my phone is hacked because you know what was on my FYP page today. Now, maybe it's because they know I watch a lot of shark stuff, but there's like these weird things that happen at sea, and there was this like looking glass boat, and they were eating dinner, and there's waves and stuff, and so under the water they like saw a killer whale.
Whoa!
But anyway, I say all that to say, during the ads, I saw a trailer, Shane, and I don't know if it's real because sometimes they make stuff up. Is there a Meg 2 coming out with Jason Statham?
Yeah, I just watched the trailer last night. It looks fantastic.
Okay. Like
it looks good.
Meg 2, The Trench.
It didn't look good.
It looked good.
Bro, they had like a dinosaur.
Shane, you
in the
must
very
like
beginning.
Sharknado too.
No, I've never seen Sharknado. That doesn't trip my trigger.
So yeah. See that, like, you know, I love sharks, but I'm not.
You're not much of a prehistoric
Now,
shark
I would
guy.
be super fibbing if I told you I haven't watched Meg like 3 times, but never from start to beginning. After the
I'm
first
sure
time.
the dinosaur thing is probably just an intro in the movie. It's probably for like the first 5 minutes, and then they probably fast forwarded 65 million years to present day.
65. Did you see 65?
I have not.
Okay, me neither. That's your boy Kylo Ren.
I've seen the preview, but I haven't seen the movie.
What's his name? Minnie Driver, or not Minnie? That's the lady.
Not sure.
What's Kylo Ren's name?
I thought it was just Kylo Ren, isn't that what he goes by?
God, I want to punch you in the face sometimes. I've been in the gym.
Hey, does trade counts?
Who?
For when teams get your guys? So like Celtics got Ray, which I was a Ray guy.
McLeod?
No,
Caruth?
Ray Allen.
That's not funny. I was in camp with him.
Allen?
You know, and I could
Marcus.
But I wasn't a USC fan, so I didn't, so that doesn't count. Now looking back at and seeing the retrospect, I mean that career was pretty awesome.
Are you on delay? Because I asked that like 6 minutes ago.
Well, I tried to ask, but I didn't want to interrupt. You guys were
Dude,
having
it's your
such
show.
you guys were having
wanna do.
such a great conversation over there.
This dude.
You could pot us down at any point.
I thought he
don't want to do
I thought
that.
he did too.
I thought he did.
Ping.
So you guys, so it's May 8th or 9th? I got a lunch
Today?
today.
9th.
Today's 9th.
So you're 6-5 in your last 11.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go? You could go a +4 in the rest of this month.
Mm-hmm.
If you do, I will laugh. Because when you were 10-20 and May was first starting, I said, how are you going to go a +10 in 28 days worth of games?
Right.
I will crack the heck
Yeah,
up.
I said we need to get to 500 by June.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, but at least we're finally on pace for it. We started off the month with 3 straight losses.
You figure out the bullpen, you should be just fine.
Well, that starting pitching needs to get consistent. It's still not.
There's only a couple teams I'm paying attention to that aren't the Dodgers. And that is the Rangers, the Mariners, and the Braves.
Oh, why is that? Oh, well, because they're going deep in your playoff run.
Yep. Yeah.
Speaking of the Dodgers, let's go to line 1 here, Shane. We'll talk to Kurt. Kurt, welcome to the show. What's up, man?
Hey, how we doing?
Kurt, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Damon, as our resident Dodger fan, I need some help here.
Uh-oh.
I've got a company meeting out in Santa Monica all night. I'm leaving this weekend just for some sights and sounds of California. And the Dodgers have a home series. Have you been to Dodger game there?
I have been to the Ravine.
All right. So any tips or tricks if I decide to go to a game this
Stay
weekend?
past the 7th inning.
So you're going to laugh, but I swear by this. Don't get the Dodger dog. Get the sushi. It is
Sushi?
Dude, it's
At a baseball game?
It's unbelievable. It was like we were playing SC out there, just double dipping. But yeah, like I know Dodger fans are gonna be like, "What? You gotta have one-time experience." Don't get the Dodger dog. It is the most overrated thing ever. And have you been to California before, Kurt?
I have.
Did
companies based out of?
Okay, so did you take the tourist trap and eat In-N-Out?
I did.
Got to eat the fries first.
So, okay, then I don't have any more advice. But the Jumbotron, the animation, I was going to say don't do In-N-Out. Although,
In-N-Out's
if we're
fine.
going to be kindred spirits with Dodgers fans, I would say just have the burger and get it out of the way. And also, if you guys are slumming it a little and you want really good food, go to Roscoe's. Chicken and waffles. I'm telling you.
Hey, I need any tips I can get. The tickets are, this poor guy from Nebraska. People like to go to Dodger games, I guess.
Yeah,
They are
and
cheap.
you know what's funny? It's for people talk about their fans all the time, but they're top 3 in attendance almost every year. They just get there late.
Yeah.
They get there late and leave
Well,
early.
I wanted to go to a baseball game, and I kind of wanted to go to an Anaheim game and see
what?
The two.
Oh,
I
love that ballpark.
Oh my gosh!
But when am I going to be able to see
Ohtani
Shohei
and
Trout?
Yeah, I get it. Well, if you wait a year, you may see Trout in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You may see Ohtani in Los Angeles.
I know I get it.
one
Dodgers
of them.
better product, better everything, but I don't know.
I know one thing.
players.
If it's $600 million, I'm passing on Ohtani.
Yeah.
Isn't that the
No, I hear
floated
ya.
number?
It is.
Yeah, I'm passing.
It is.
Kurt, be safe out there.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Kurt, for the call.
He could probably share a Dodger dog.
I thought you said don't get the Dodger dog.
It's like double digit.
So,
It's
okay,
like
what is
double
more?
digit.
What more screams you're a tourist when you're at a Dodgers game? You have the Dodger dog in hand, or you're eating sushi
Sushi's fantastic, though.
at a baseball game. Like, this is what I'm asking. Which one is more touristy? Getting the Dodger dog or having sushi on your plate?
Full disclosure, I don't like to eat with my hands, and so there were chopsticks. And it's light, so I'm not going to have to use the restroom in public.
So you're sitting in the seats, and people are like, "That's
I don't
a
know
tourist?"
why these are well thought out ideas.
Well,
you're just not vibing with me.
That's sushi at a baseball game.
It's light.
Like if you're like,
And
hey,
it's
I got
healthy.
sushi before the
And
game.
it's
makes sense.
It's warm out. You don't want to feel sluggish. Come on, man. Give your boys. Nothing.
I just can't.
No,
I
no,
can imagine
I-
you right now. You have
no,
your
I
little tray
see.
of four pieces of sushi. You have your chopsticks
It's
out.
actually
You don't
8.
have a lot of room
It's 8.
because
Don't
the
be a
seats
hater.
are like having you crammed. So you have your knees together to balance, and you're using your chopsticks to get it.
Such a hater.
And you're going up, and now you're on the Jumbotron because people notice that you're the only guy in the stadium eating sushi, and you put the sticks down and you're trying to wave and you're balancing your
Nope,
sushi.
I would never be that guy. I'm not waving at anything. I don't even want to be on those things. I've never been. So one time, like at a Creighton game, I was a couple months ago.
On the Tron?
Yeah, but that was because I was with my guy, and he has like.
Now, were you on there
Ridiculous
by
seats.
default because you were
Yeah,
in
so
the
it
first
was,
row?
Yep. So
Okay.
it was they played the song that's only good because it was. You ever have music that you like that's only good when you hear it with something in particular? Like you wouldn't just play it on its own.
Yes.
Okay, so they did it was the Pink Out game, and you could hold up the signs of people that you were there
that
for.
You're standing.
So they
for.
were playing the music. So I was like captivated. I was trying not to be all sappy because.
Mhm.
So I was just watching all the people, hold up their signs because when I sat down, there were the things that you could fill out, and I was like, I don't have a marker.
Right. I stand up for X
Yes,
person.
Correct. And it caught me gawking at the Jumbotron. I was looking.
But you didn't have a sign?
No.
So why'd they pan to you? Why wouldn't they pan to somebody with a
Because
sign?
people, you just asked me if I just happened to be in.
Got it. So it was
yeah.
a wide shot.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
I don't know what you call it. It was more than one person.
Did they pan?
Like
they pan
Dora
left
or
right?
Peter. Dude, we're 5 minutes in and we're back to not being friends. I couldn't even get you to vibe with sushi.
I don't like sushi.
That's fine. You got bad taste.
That's cool. But I wouldn't eat it at a baseball game,
No.
even if I liked it.
You like Caleb. He doesn't like it either. You can take him out.
Good.
I'll take Zoe. Sushi and crab rangoon. That's her jam.
CB and I will sit in a distance and be like, look at those weirdos.
We had
They're eating sushi.
My mom made a fantastic little kind of whipped up some Mexican yesterday and took the boys over there early. And Ryder, like, do you know what I brought from our house so she could have dinner? Frozen chicken nuggets.
That's Zoe's meal of choice.
Yeah, they're fantastic. They're these gluten-free ones at Costco. They're unreal. Now, they're only the size of maybe your thumbnail.
Really?
Dude, they're teeny, but they're sensational. I'm not.
Are they like crispy when you put them in the
man.
air fryer?
Yeah,
I'm assuming
it's their, and they have the smooth
I
breading.
vibe with chicken
The
nuggets.
smooth breading.
Mhm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
like the Tyson breading.
Yeah. So and it's weird too because we were talking about favorites and all that. Like the Dodgers is the only thing. So I've been to Three Rivers. It was Three Rivers then. No, it was Hines. That was 04 Pitt. So I double dipped. So I've seen the Pens, I've seen the Penguins or the Steelers.
Yep.
And I've seen the Dodgers.
Your teams.
Obviously saw SC by default because they played Nebraska.
Right.
I saw the Lakers on the road at the Target Center.
Okay.
And that might be it for my teams.
But you still like flock to your
and it's
fandom.
almost the order in which I started to like the teams growing up. I was a Steelers fan first. Never seen a game at Chapel Hill, but I have been to the campus.
I'm assuming you want to.
Yeah, my buddy Bryant Cobbs, he actually goes with DJ. They never take me, and I'm the only real fan. Like, why they take your boy? But anyway,
they know you're gonna eat sushi there.
No, I'd probably get barbecue.
Okay, I can deal with that. We're back on good terms.
Do you eat grits?
Yes.
Yeah. So, like Carolina, like it's grits in Carolina are like fries in Nebraska, constantly on the menu, a lot of different ways. But anyway, it's also the only real sauce that I like because it's the light kind of sauce. If they're gonna sauce something, the vinegar base.
Yep.
That is because I'm not a barbecue guy. Sauce.
So not thick.
Or I almost said orange. It's not orange.
Like acidic?
No, the color. I'm not a traditional barbecue sauce guy.
I can go with that. When I went to the Bears,
I don't even know if I
watched
would
the
go to a
Bears
Laker
a year
game.
and a half ago. That was a good one for me.
Did you see the greatest Laker fan ever, not named Jack Nicholson? He had on yellow Crocs and black and yellow checkered pants.
Yeah, Nicholson loves himself some.
No, it was his buddy though.
Right.
The old guy's hair slicked back. He's always wearing the glasses. He had on yellow, 70 some odd. He's probably 80. Yellow Crocs.
Crocs are back.
He should have caught the pass to Draymond Green through to nobody.
Yeah, how about that?
Dude, Peyton had to. Something was wrong with him.
He had a bathroom break,
he had to
right?
get off the floor.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's what it was.
I have no clue if it was injury or
Should have just done Paul
he had
Pierce.
the runs.
Get your wheelchair. Get up on out.
We'll get back with the Lakers and some guests next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Reeves will inbound far side, front court to our left. Alani Walker has had 9 points here in the fourth quarter. He's got a James screen to his left. He uses it. He drives, puts up a runner that's good. Lonnie Walker has been the fourth quarter story for the Lakers.
Well, the Lakers made you sweat again, BB.
Yes, they did. Thank goodness for haphazard, loosey-goosey Golden State with the ball. Although that wasn't the most, real quick before we get to the fake show. At one point yesterday, with about 7 minutes to go in the Knicks game, listen to what I'm about to tell you.
Okay.
The Knicks were shooting 53% from the floor and 40% from three.
Is that good?
They were down 9 points.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to what I'm telling you.
I heard you.
53%, 40 from behind the arc, and they were down 9 points. They couldn't rebound. And so Mike is moseying around in the living room and I'm like, man, I said, playoff Jimmy, because like at that time he's like 8 of 13 or something from the floor. And
ended 9 of 17.
And I was like, man, I said, Jimmy Butler just doing playoff things. And he goes, man, and I guess this is what the kids say, so maybe we have to like get into this. He's like, he's such a try hard. I was like, what? No, just tries hard. He's just a try hard guy. So all I could think of were those kids in school that weren't really very good at anything, but they would like run around frantically trying to just
like sweat buckets in PE class.
Like run over you to catch a ball and kickball. Oh, never heard of the term. I got it.
I remember I got plowed.
You'd play the parachute game and you'd go underneath and they'd run into you.
I got plowed over by a female one time and I hit the deck.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. You probably slight then too.
Oh.
You teeny in school?
Oh yeah.
It's okay.
Like I said, I could have been in the weight room, but I chose not to.
It'll serve you well in about 30 years.
What, my metabolism?
See? As long as it doesn't.
Although I'll tell you this much. When I went to the Dominican a week and a half ago, I gained 5 pounds in 5 days.
Well, you said the food was good. And I just don't know about that.
Food was great. It wasn't just good.
Okay. I'm with you.
But see, fresh seafood, I don't get that a lot.
No, and I'm a seafood guy. I'm just not surrounded by people that like seafood.
I love seafood. I think I'm going to make shrimp scampi tonight.
Is that right?
But I like pasta. You're not much of a pasta guy.
Yeah. And
I see.
Make fun of me for not wanting to get my fingers dirty at a ball game.
Let's go to the phone.
I thought my rationale was pretty sound.
I mean, you explained it well. I'm just not vibing with it.
Yeah. I have a thing that I do with wasabi and soy sauce where I like to mix.
Hey, what did one B say to the other?
Was not doing. What did one B say to the other? I don't know. What did one B say to the other?
Wasabi.
Okay.
So let's get over that.
Okay. You're not even
Do your thing, man. Shock the world.
You're not
baby.
even a dad yet with bad dad jokes. Wasabi. Okay.
You'll take that home. I know you will.
Hey, my man,
thanks.
my man D-Rock and Joe, they told me it's Adam Driver. I know I said mini driver, but
I count it. And one.
They both have long.
You
black
buried
hair.
the free throw.
They both have
I
long
count
black
it.
hair. Anyway.
Wasn't Morgan Freeman the driver? Didn't he drive Miss Daisy? Or was it Robert De Niro? Wasn't he the taxi driver?
Oh my gosh.
Adam Driver.
That look you gave him.
Hey, Shane, let's go to line 2. Let's talk to Brian. Hey, Brian, what's going on, man?
What's going on?
Oh man, just wondering why we're echoing. I don't know. How are you? How are things?
I'm doing all right. I'm glad to hear that. Don't you let Andrew dog you about getting your crunchy
listen, man, he's been on me for a couple of days.
Brian, you cannot tell me that you would also get sushi at a baseball game.
Low-key, he just went passive aggressive. He said great poupon at Dodger game. I see what you did there. I see what you did.
You gotta watch Dodger game with sophisticated, like with your pinky finger up, sipping your tea.
Yeah,
right? That's how they do.
That's what I've been
That's how
told.
they do in LA. That's probably what Lonnie Walker doing right now.
Hey, listen, between he and Vanderbilt, I'll take the pickups. They got a bench now.
Hey, the crazy game is that their shooting percentage was even with each other. It tells me that you may go to State a 2-point shooting team. It's better to let them shoot them threes.
Hey, did you get at Robbie on Twitter again last night? Because he said he texted me. He's not going to be here for your slander, B. But I'm going to get on him too because remember our knockdown drag out argument that he told me you can't win with Butler being a 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's the 1, and they're rolling through the playoffs right now.
Killing them, Nick. And I didn't want to say nothing to Robbie. I didn't want to hurt his feelings because the foul call was so close this time. I mean, it's not his fault that the Lakers shot 20 or 20 from the free throw line. But what I think people need to talk about is Klay Thompson at 3 for 11, game 2, 5 for 14. What was it? In game 5?
Yeah.
He hasn't been playing. People need to maybe ask, hey, is he still recovering from those leg surgery he had? It hasn't been 2 full years yet. So I think he kind of got worn out towards the end of that game because, you started reaching a whole lot more. You know, that's the first sign to show you tired when you start using them hands more.
Hey,
So,
did you see 3 of the top 5 playoff free throw discrepancies LeBron has been a part of?
Mm-mm.
And Golden State, the other 2. How about
it makes
that?
sense. It makes sense. You can't outshoot them. So don't even try that.
Yeah.
You can't collect enough shooters to outshoot them.
2 with the Cavs, Golden State twice, and then LeBron's Lakers.
Hey, I know that, but that does make sense. Okay. Gentlemen sweep. Sorry, Robbie. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, B.
They went into last night plus 44 in free throws.
Wow.
I'm not a LeBron James fan.
They added 8 to that last night.
Man, I'll tell you this much, too. Watching the Lakers switch off of screens.
I know. So they went yeah, they can do that now.
Is what makes Klay Thompson not get open, is what makes Steph Curry force 3-point shots up or try to create space. And then where does the ball go? Wiggins?
Yeah.
Draymond's hands?
He's their X factor.
Yeah,
though.
Sure.
Wiggins is,
don't get me wrong. Wiggins is a stud. But if it's not in Curry's hands or Klay's hands and they're trying to force buckets up just to try to be productive on the court, credit to the Lakers and how they play defensively. And this has always been my biggest knock on the NBA. And I know it's kind of like, oh, yeah, the main bullet, right? Oh, nobody plays defense in the NBA. Well, I've been watching the NBA Finals, and no one plays defense like the Lakers right now.
They've been guarding. They have been guarding.
Let's go to line 3, talk to Michigan Lance. What's up, Lance?
Man, what's up, boys? How you doing this morning?
Hanging in there.
Stuffy.
DB, you should be feeling good, man. You got a real basketball team, man.
I do. I've been there with these guys before, man. I'm not letting myself get too high.
Well, not these guys. Like, this is a different team here. I mean,
I do like I have been saying I like their bench. They have a full basketball team.
Yeah, and I mean, AD and LeBron healthy. Now, we've only been here one time before, and the last time we've been there, they won a championship. So as long as they continue to be healthy, and isn't this classic LeBron, though? Like, I never understood, but I think some people did, but, like, there were some people kind of standoffish about playing with him, where he's like Bird and Magic, where it's like,
no,
hey, man,
not.
I'm going to let you, okay. He's not?
No.
He can win with any coach. Those guys won with multiple coaches. He doesn't have to be the top scorer every night.
But
He just
usually is.
He just usually is.
He was 10 of 25 last night, and he was their leading scorer. Why would you use last night's game as an example?
I'm not using only last night's game. I'm talking about classic LeBron's career, like healthy LeBron. This is healthy LeBron and another healthy All-Star. This is what happens, right? Like, and
they're pretty good.
And some guys who are confident that they can play NBA basketball, like, and you know, when you talk about being the guy, right? Yeah, he led the team, but in crunch time, he wasn't like, hey, I got to continue to lead the team. You know what I mean? All right, Lonnie, it's your night. Now, what I don't like, DB, this is what LeBron, don't get on afterwards talking about, I told Lonnie, I told him he was going to be the guy.
I know. Just
ready.
Yeah.
Come on, man. You don't have to say that because it's not true.
Stop stealing his shine.
Exactly. I'm with that. Now
you asked me why I can't be all in. It's little stuff like that bugs me.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Well, you know why? Because we know too much. There's too much information that we get from individual people nowadays.
Hey, did you see my guy D'Angelo Love Muscle make one field goal? He drives me up. He drives me up.
D'Lo's
what about the Spider-Man pointing at each other?
Yeah.
D'Angelo and Jordan Poole.
Oh, that's tough. Wow. Jordan Poole does suck right now too.
Yeah.
He got paid.
There's some players in this series that do indeed.
He got paid.
Suck. We're talking to Brandon Vogel. He does not suck. Next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Yeah, I like the offensive line. I think they suit us really well. They're going to be good for what we do. I think we have to continue to develop depth. I think we have to continue to develop the young players. But I like the group. I like the walk-on players that we have in that group as well. And I think they'll play well for us. You know, Sat. It's one of the reasons why I made Sat coach the offensive line at Carolina. He'd be assistant line coach. You can call plays all day. Calling plays in college football is not like playing Madden. You know, like you have to take the matchups into account. And so, you know, we have to do a good job of balancing our run pass, balancing, you know, helping guys versus great players.
Coach Rule on Sports Nightly last night with Greg Sharp, Coffee and Cream in the morning.
Courtesy of the network.
Yep, courtesy of the Husker Radio Network. Happy to have you with us on a Tuesday. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency, live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club, wherever you catch us. Here in Omaha at 590 ESPN. We're live on Twitter, live on YouTube. We appreciate you. And we also appreciate the fact that we get to talk to Brandon Vogel, like we always get to do on a Tuesday. Vogues, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Good, B. How are you?
Doing well.
Hey, you know, okay, so yesterday I was asking Sam a little bit about the 6-game mark that analysts have been projecting for this team. And then it got me thinking about Coach Rule a little bit last night when listening to him. So I want to ask you this. Do you think Matt Rule is a realist, knowing that this team won't just win 8-9 games out of the gate in year one? Or do you think he's under the impression that this team can actually do that in his first year?
I think he's a realist in that my read is he would look at 8 or 9 and be like, if things go well, if you get a couple of breaks or something like that, like it's not that far from 6 to 8. And a lot of the power rating systems, put Nebraska at 6. DraftKings and Caesars opened Friday with Power 5 win totals with Nebraska at 6. And that's kind of where I thought they would be. And then, but you look at the rest of the West Division. DraftKings, I don't think had Iowa posted for some reason, but Wisconsin was at 9, which
way high.
which surprised me. But then you get into Illinois was 6.5. Purdue was 5.5. I think Minnesota was 6.5. So you're looking at that group there that Nebraska is in with kind of those teams, and it's like, how some of those games go are going to determine who goes, with about a 6-win projection, who goes 5-7 and who goes 7-5 in some cases. So I think Nebraska is in a pretty good spot. I think 6 is pretty realistic. I feel like that's kind of their starting state.
So, B, have you allowed yourself to get into, because it's been so long since Nebraska's home field has really been an advantage. But I think we would all agree when they start winning at home, those games at home, that's when you can really start to have national level impact. Do you allow yourself to look at home and away yet, or are you not quite there?
No, I think you always take a look at it, and it's hard to I think chalk up the wins at just because they're at home the way you'd like to if you're a Nebraska fan or if you're a fan of any team. Like you want to be able to see for a Power 5 school that's going to play 7 home games every year it can. Now sometimes you only get 6, and sometimes a Michigan's coming to town and you're just not ready to beat a program like that necessarily on paper. But if you can go 5-2 over those 7 home games, well, that's 5 wins right there. And, this Nebraska schedule for 2023 is a little unique in that we won't see them at home until mid-September, which is going to feel bizarre by the time we actually get there. But you kind of look at this, and I at least look at, well, you got the 2-game stretch, which to start the season, which is big, and it's going to be interesting. We're going to learn, I think, more than we typically learn after 2 weeks about Nebraska. But whatever happens there, Northern Illinois and Louisiana Tech, like if you want to get to 6, like you need to win both of those, and you should. You'll be decent favorites, though. Northern Illinois, I think, is going to be pretty good. Yeah. I'm less convinced about Louisiana Tech, but Northern Illinois, I was writing their preview over the weekend, and they've got a lot back.
I agree, and they do a good job recruiting. How much do you think that Iowa not being posted on DraftKings has to do with the fact that they have 26? Between them and Iowa State, 26 athletes amid an investigation for gambling.
Actually, I hadn't even thought of that.
I'm kind of serious.
No, I hadn't thought of that, but that seems like the most likely reason. In the past, when New Jersey was one of the first state I think outside of Nevada to bring in sports gambling, like you got used to not seeing Rutgers posted. That was like a thing, and now it's not. But I was like, why isn't Iowa here? But that very well could be it. In fact, I would be surprised if that weren't, because there's no other seeming reason that I'm aware of that the Hawkeyes wouldn't be posted. And I'm super interested in where they would open at, because they're one of those teams that is kind of tough to project for me as well.
Folks, where do you rest with all of that gambling information that's been surfacing for somebody that covers the sport and has been covering it for a long time? And Nebraska's was getting to a point to where online gambling was going to be a thing eventually. I mean, I feel like across all states you're going to find an eventually in there when you talk about online gambling. But how does this essentially prolong that from happening in the state? But at the same time, how do athletes, or why did athletes think they could get away with something like that with how things are tracked nowadays?
Yeah, it's, I don't know that I have an answer for the second part of that. But the first part of that is I think, for opponents of legal sports wagering in Nebraska or anyplace else, this gives them something to point to of like, hey, look, these aren't just concerns. Like, this is happening. Now, I don't think anything I've seen over the past week, tells me that it's happening at a large scale. I could be wrong. I just may not know at this point. But the Alabama baseball thing, I think, is probably, and we'll see. I don't know fully. Like, I've read one story, the basic recap of what they're looking at in Iowa and Iowa State. But with something like Alabama baseball, which is SEC baseball, and you're playing the number one team in the country, like it's as big a deal as like regular season college baseball gets. It's still something where, it's kind of on the fringes. Like, how many people are even betting an LSU Alabama baseball game on a Friday night? Probably not much. Right. Well, we know of at least one person who did. So it's those things that I think in the college space, you really have to pay close attention to. It's not the massive SEC football game of the week that's going to have a huge handle. For me right now, it's some of those smaller sports that you might even be surprised, like, oh, I didn't know they put out a line or even took money line bets on this. So that's kind of what we saw with baseball, and it's going to be there. I don't know if it's worth, like, if we need to burn the whole thing down at this point, but it's important information, and you gotta adapt and adjust to it.
It's interesting too, in a state that has made a pretty good profit margin from the gaming commission in Iowa.
Tons.
So it's like,
but because it's so easily accessed.
No, I get it. No, I definitely get it. B, let me hop back over to, we were talking about win totals, and Coach Rule mentioned Coach Satterfield. Are you surprised about right? Like, he doesn't seem to come up a ton when we talk about Nebraska's offense by name. We talk about the quarterback race, the offensive line play. We almost never say Coach Satterfield, at least not near as much as I think as we talk about Tony White. Heck, we talk about Donnie Raiola, in my opinion, more than we talk about Coach Satterfield. Do you get that sense, or is that just me?
No, I don't think it's just you. I think Satterfield is interesting in that when you look back at his time at Temple, and he wasn't the OC of Baylor, but was there for a season, and then like he's not the type of person where I think the broad national college football fan knew that he was the offensive coordinator at South Carolina the past 2 years. He's not that kind of like flashy up and comer. This is my scheme. This is my system. Which is honestly is one of the most intriguing things about it, because I think Rule has made it pretty clear. I mean, beyond just the hiring of him, that like, hey, I see what I need to see in this guy, and if you guys don't see it, that's fine. Just trust me on this one. He's not Colorado's offensive coordinator. I can't believe this is happening. I was just writing about them. I'm drawing a blank on him. Former Kent State head coach. Like, that's somebody who catches your attention, not just because he's left a head coaching gig, but because they like ran, a play every 20 seconds, and that was their thing. And Satterfield's not that. So I think that contributes a little bit to it. I think you don't go down the line of where he's been the OC at and see, oh, they averaged 40 points there and, put up 500 yards a game here. It's more just like you kind of got to look between the lines a little bit with him, and I think that's okay. It would be a different dynamic having kind of that big name, hot new thing offensive coordinator in Nebraska based on what we've seen.
He's Brandon Vogel, managing editor at Hail Varsity, at Brandon L. Vogel on Twitter. Vogel, we appreciate you.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, B. He's talking about Sean Lewis.
Yes, Sean Lewis. Good call.
I saw a couple of Sanders posts. Basically, one, he was like, man, stop hating on everybody and just do your thing. Boy, he has captured the nation by storm, but I'm telling you.
People loved him. People hated him. Now people love and hate him.
We have misplaced attention. displaced as well. It needs to be on Minnesota. We'll get to Colorado in week 2 after the 9-day span. Worry about Minnesota.
Speaking of Minnesota, we have Ryan Burns coming up at 8:45, Joel Lorenzi at 9, and we'll talk Michigan State at 9:45. We probably need to do the 6-pack next. We go way too long.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio. Time now for the Sports Six-Pack on Coffee and Cream with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning. Presented by Zipline Brewing Company, makers of Dear Old Nebraska Brew, the official beer of Nebraska alumni.
It is six-pack time, and that means we tell you about Zipline. Look at that. You like that rhyme there, DB? How about the Beer Hall South in Lincoln? It's their take on classic German or a classic German beer hall. That's where community comes together to share their days over a common table. They stress community connection, offer yoga, interactive games of all kinds. Go check it out. Beer Hall South in Lincoln.
Beer Hall South. Somebody's following me on Twitter named Mildly Irritable. That's hilarious.
That's my burner account.
Is it? Another burner reference. Is there something you'd like to tell me?
Nope.
Are you Kevin Durant?
Maybe.
Hey, do you
I
remember?
wish.
Do you? You wouldn't have as good a hair.
No, but I would have a lot of money, and I could get plugs if I wanted to.
He doesn't.
He doesn't have to.
One thing you'd be giving up is that nice free flowing those lots.
That mane, yeah.
Yeah.
If I had a net worth of $200 million, I'd be fine.
You could probably afford some lotion.
I'd shave my head every day if I had to.
Sorry, Katie. That's tough. A lot of jokes this morning at your expense. You're still a hooper, though. Top 15 score of all time. Top 10. And we need to go back in the six-pack of questions. Is now a good time to go back and get some value on the Suns?
Actually, yes.
Remember, everybody was like, yeah, I don't know. Well, you know what?
A good call there.
Here's Phoenix sitting at 2-2. How about that? Now they're going
Catch
into
me outside.
They're going into. She's rich, by the way.
Yeah. Also, probably has a net worth of $200 million.
Gosh, I'm not doing the OnlyFans thing though.
Is that what she does now?
Bad baby. I mean, she did. I don't know. I haven't read up on her in about 3 years, but maybe since the pandemic. But she, allegedly she cleared like $1 million in 1 year.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
Shane? Question number Shillabird. You go first.
Doesn't it seem a little early to be drinking?
Not for you.
Should I have a beer fridge over here, by the way?
Not a beer.
You should just crack open a beer.
Question number 1.
People that just wake up miserable, they need a beer.
How much will the newly scheduled NFL game on Black Friday impact Iowa versus Nebraska nationally?
By the way, how about the delay with the NFL schedule?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. A lot of new things with the NFL. You're not guaranteed primetime games, which is a good thing.
Yeah. They are doing the Black Friday thing. They just like all bets are off. They kind of tried to corner the market.
I'm going to say nationally it won't have a lot of impact or as much as people may think.
You know what would be nice is if that game was for the Big Ten West, which I think it should be every year. Mm-hmm. Although Wisconsin's going to have something to say about that but I would say not much. Liquid.
Only reason I say that too is because growing up in St. Louis, how long has the Black Friday game been a thing?
Growing up in the hood, mid to 2012, maybe?
Okay,
13.
So
13, I think.
In St. Louis, you didn't have a lot of people on Black Friday saying, "Hey, I'm watching Nebraska, Iowa," and that's a state nearly bordering both states.
I remember I was at my buddy's, Gunther Mike Long, Grassroots, and he was cleaning all these pheasants and stuff, and Nebraska, Iowa was on. But what year was that? It seems longer than when Nebraska's been in the Big Ten, but that's not right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's a good question. Do you know what I watched last night? 1980, Nebraska, Mississippi State in the Sun Bowl. Nebraska had
start to finish?
No. It's YouTube.
Highlights?
No. I turned it off after Nebraska went up 10, but Nebraska used to have the worst uniforms in the country. They look like jerseys, and all it said was Nebraska. It looks like It looks like what you give the bad kids when you want them to be on the other team.
Pee-wee football?
And a scrimmage.
I know what jersey you're referring to. Hey, we get the really nice ones, and you guys get the old rags.
Shane?
Question number 2.
Who would you say is the MVP of the NBA playoffs so far?
I think we already talked about him.
Great question.
Well, thank you.
Jimmy Buckets.
Okay, so because they have a commanding lead, I'm not going to fight you. But, man, you better take a look at Devin Booker.
Mm-hmm. He's been fantastic.
And he's doing it without CP3. And they're back 2-2.
Really tough series.
Hard to argue against playoff Jimmy, though. But, man, D-Book has been sensational.
Mm-hmm. What did he have, 34 last game?
Oh, he's just a bucket getter. And he plays with supreme confidence.
And he plays with really good talent, which is tough to do sometimes.
Okay, so I think they're better than okay, but it's not like people think. I mean, they're not knocking down the door to play with Campaign. You're not knocking down the door to play with Ayton. I mean, yeah, K-Dizzle.
Katie was that point.
But everybody's got a good twosome, right? I mean, Jokic probably has the worst wingman.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you put Jimmy Buckets and Bam together, I mean, Jimmy Buckets is a solo guy.
And Bam isn't a two.
Right.
Isn't a two scorer. Yeah, I mean,
but if
compare,
you do Booker and KD, but what I'm saying is I think it's more impressive that Booker puts up that type of production because you have a superstar like KD on that team.
The more you kind of word it like that, I think it's Butler. I mean, Bam Adebayo is the next best player. And no disrespect to Bam, but that's a 3 or 4 scoring option
to that Miami team.
It's a 3 or 4 scoring option on any other team. I mean, it's just how it is.
I'm with it.
Question number 3.
What's the best advice you've ever received from a coach or a mentor?
Oh, gosh.
I bet you have a ton.
Hard to narrow it down. I got one that I still kind of say to this day. I tell it to the kids all the time. This was growing up. Because, people used to say, hey, man, show you your friends, show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
Uh-huh.
My coaches took it one step further. I was in middle school, and I was playing baseball. Guy Gene Poling told me, if you find yourself being with people where the results don't matter, find new friends. That was the gist of what he said. And I always tell the kiddos, listen, man, find yourself being around people where the results don't matter, find something else different to do.
Now, this didn't come from a coach. It didn't actually come from a mentor because I never got to meet him, but it was a quote that I'd been taking with me for a while because I looked up to Jack Buck growing up. I listened to his tape, and he said he had a quote one time where he said, "Those things turn out best for those that make the best of how things turn out."
Oh, okay.
And I kind of just carried that with me over the years because, this industry is a grinder when you start out on the bottom floor. And
sometimes you got to polish a turd. Mm-hmm. I like that. That's kind of my mentality.
So just being positive, staying positive.
Figure it out. I like that. I'll vibe with that.
Question number 4.
Based on what you know and where teams sit in the NHL playoffs, who's coming out of the Eastern Conference and who's coming out of the Western Conference?
I don't know if the Knights can come out of the West. I think their goalie struggles are going to catch up to them, even though they have the series lead.
Who?
The Knights?
You think they're going to struggle?
With now what, goalie number 6, Aiden Hill?
Yeah,
he's played a lot of games, but I think it's going to haunt them.
I just don't love anybody's goaltending right now.
I like the Panthers. I like Bobrovsky and how he's playing. But are they going to come out of the East? I kind of feel like the Canes are going to come out of the East.
Well, they're playing like it. Although, I mean, New Jersey was desperate.
They got one. They were due for some goals.
You saw my guy Draisaitl should have 2 more goals last night. Did you see him hit the bottom of the post on the one-timer?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Ting!
And he's already been a machine. I don't know. For sake of time, I'll ride with Drew down. At some point, maybe. But they're such winners.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Vegas has had a lot of postseason
I get
success.
it. I'm going to go with the Hurricanes, and I will say, in my heart, I'd like to see the Kraken do it, but I don't think realistically that's a thing. I will go with. Should I go with the obvious? Do I go with your boys?
Go the Oilers?
I'll go with your boys.
The Oilers?
Mm-hmm.
I'll ride with you. I'll take it.
Canes Oilers. We could have sat there forever.
Yeah, that's going to be some nice open ice hockey too, if that's the case.
Question number 5.
Draisaitl may score 8.
Yeah.
Let's say Nebraska wins 6 games. Which Big
Nebraska
Ten
wins 6 games.
Which Big Ten win total would you rather have? Northwestern, Michigan, Minnesota, or Wisconsin, Iowa, Maryland?
Wait, what?
Read that again, Shane.
Okay. Say Nebraska wins 6 games.
Nebraska wins 6 games.
Okay, so they're out of the discussion. Is that why you're saying that?
It just says say Nebraska wins 6 games. Which Big Ten win total would you rather have? Northwestern, Michigan, Minnesota, or Wisconsin, Iowa.
Okay, so
Maryland.
in both scenarios, they win 6 games. One scenario, you beat Michigan. The other, you beat Michigan and Minnesota and Northwestern. The other, you beat Wisconsin, Iowa, and Maryland.
Give me the first group again.
Northwestern, Michigan, Minnesota.
I think that's the one. That's the one I'd go
Give me
with.
that one.
Because you start the year with a win and you beat a team that you haven't beaten in a long time.
Wait, so Maryland's in the other one, and who else?
Wisconsin and Iowa.
Oh, no, give me that one. Give me Iowa and Wisconsin. You haven't beat them both in the same year and since you've been in the conference, unless it was 13, 12. Yeah, give me the second. For sure.
Question number
Can they even beat
6.
both those teams in the same year?
We hear a lot about team camaraderie, how long of a way it goes. Where do you think that matters most if you're ranking it positionally? Give me your top 3.
Position groups?
Yeah.
Camaraderie?
I'll crutch it with the O-line and Matt Rule and everybody else at 1.
They're good.
I'll crutch it.
O-line is, I don't worry about their chemistry at all. They're thick as thieves. They do everything together. So,
But do you think it doesn't matter?
Oh, it does. It absolutely does. But
Right.
for them, it's a given.
Okay, so we're going outside of the O-line.
At least for me. At least for me. Because I do think that's the tightest group on the team.
No question. But would you still rank them in the top 3 in totality?
Of importance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's the question. If you can add them in. Or you could say, hey, I'm going to go 3 outsiders.
Wide
cool with
receivers 1 for me.
I think DBs should be up
I'll go wide receivers, linebacking core, DBs.
there. Linebacking over DL. Would I do that? I like your wide receivers for sure.
And then this 3-3, those guys got to play.
Sure.
They got to play on a string.
Ooh, good call. With the 3-3-5, good call. I like that. I like the linebacker choice.
I'm surprised you didn't say running back. Is it because there's only one on the field? I got you.
Well, majority of the time. Who knows what this year will look like.
I hear you. I'll go wide receivers, linebacker,
and
core DBs.
would you factor in fullback to running back? Like, would you say they're a part of the same group?
Yeah.
See, that makes it interesting now.
I want to go down for that fullback camp that he's having. I don't know the date. It's in June.
I think that
How about
adds
just having a camp to find a fullback? Is that nuts?
kind of cool.
You ever? I think it's what you know what I think is cool. All the camps are Matt Rule camps. They're not.
They're not recycled camps.
They're like they're calling him by name.
Mm-hmm.
That's his own deal. Go ahead then, Coach Rule.
Yeah, I haven't thought about it.
Man, me neither. Was that the 6th question?
Yep.
How'd we get through that?
Well, because we had a 24-minute segment, we went 14 minutes.
Some of those questions are hard, though. You really wouldn't take beating Iowa and Wisconsin in the same year?
No, I'd rather take a Michigan win and a win over Minnesota to start the year, because I think it would set up the season well.
No, yeah.
And if you beat Michigan,
can
you imagine this? We'll grease poles in Lincoln.
I can only imagine.
But I get what you're saying with Wisconsin and Iowa beating them in the same year. Plus,
and Northwestern was in there too, Shane.
Yeah, just because.
That is correct.
No, but see, the thing is, though, if you're gonna take beating Minnesota and Northwestern over Iowa and Wisconsin, you better be telling me that you think Minnesota or Northwestern are gonna have a chance to win the West, because otherwise you're gonna take the teams that are going to matter in the race.
I'm getting your point, right? Because if you don't beat Iowa and Wisconsin,
you're probably out of it.
Yep. Okay. Uh-huh.
But if you lose to Northwestern, are you even in it?
Great point.
That's a tough one. But I just want to do it because I've been saying it for 5 years. Can we beat Iowa and Wisconsin in the same year?
I just think if you beat Michigan, this team will exude confidence, and you could beat any team.
How about Wisconsin's win total at 9?
Too
Some
many.
have 9.5.
Too many.
I want to say that. I do. Just conventional wisdom. Because to win, because you don't have, I'm going to take the margin for error. Like, that means you're going to win 10?
Yeah, fresh team, fresh face. I don't see you winning 10 games.
Although I'm telling you, they look pretty good. But full disclosure, like, I felt like both practices were similar when I compare, and I've seen Nebraska a lot more.
You saw them both in person, though.
Yeah. I would say the tempo, the crispness, the hitting, I think was very, I didn't leave there like, ooh, Nebraska's in trouble. I left there thinking, wow, this is a really good practice.
Mm-hmm. But that's what you also compared to Nebraska.
Yeah, I always do.
This is like a really good, well put together.
And all these plays, that's really what I'm looking at, right?
So
I'm looking at relative to what I think I'm going to see.
So if you're taking Michigan, you're saying win the big games before you win the West, which is if you're taking Wisconsin, Iowa.
So in both scenarios, you're beating two West teams. So you beat Minnesota to open the year. I think that's huge. I think that's a big piece to Matt Rule's first year. Then you go on and beat, is Michigan before Northwestern? I'm going to say it is, but I may be wrong. Say you go on and beat Michigan then, and then you take care of the bunny team, the so-called bunny team, what should be a bunny team. I think you'll be in better shape down the stretch of the season then to compete in those two games. Now, for the scenario, you lose those two games.
I can't even believe I'm going to do this, but if you start 3-0, 4-0, you get Michigan at home.
Then if you, in the scenario, you're 5-0.
Right? Because you're on the road. I'm just kind of trying to box this in. I've said all along, and I get it, right? Not 888-638-4876. Just win the first one. No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly how I think, because I don't typically fast forward into schedules. I don't even like talking schedules, but
here we are.
2-0. This state is on the, I wanted to say precipice, but is on the cusp of this being like head over heels in love.
Right.
2-0 may do it.
Think about
2-0 may do it.
Think about my scenario too,
right? Like
you at worst go 6-1 in my scenario.
I'm not doing that. I can't do that. But you're right. That's why I was looking at the schedule, especially where Michigan and Northwestern are, because Northwestern's after you're at Champaign.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think Nebraska's going to have their hands full in Champaign. But my man just wearing pajamas to the press conference. Baby steps, just 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you really, really like, it's like Shane, right? He really, really likes someone. All she has to do is say hello, and he'd be all in. Yep. Where do you want to go? Hey, Hey, yeah. Hey, where do you want to eat? Got you. Right?
No doubt to me about that.
That's the equivalent to starting 2-0 in my opinion.
Get butterflies.
And listen, before the calendar, right? Because it's the 31st and September 9th, right? You've only played 2 high school games. Locally, the buzz, the momentum,
you're vibing.
Yeah, and I think the play
and where does that go with recruiting too?
I think the in-state players would too. So I'm thinking big picture here, right?
Now you're kind of connecting dots back on my side.
I am because Northwestern and Michigan and Minnesota are all before.
But you're also a guy
Iowa and Wisconsin.
Beat Iowa every year.
Well, I just don't think you can win the West without being able to beat Iowa or Wisconsin.
And it's a good point.
Yes, sir.
And I think you can. Well, they did last year. They lost to Northwestern, and I know that was their only win of the season, Northwestern. So I'm reluctant to not. That's why I don't really want to argue. I'm like, okay. I mean, I see what you're saying in terms of start, but man, with significance to winning the conference, I still kind of lean the latter.
And I get that too. Because down the stretch of the season, those games are so crucial to your side of the conference. Because if, say, Wisconsin doesn't win 10 games, because we don't think so. I mean, they could, but we don't think so. But say they're probably resting at, 8 games? You feel comfortable with 8? You feel comfortable with 7? Where do you feel comfortable with Wisconsin? 7, 8 games? Yeah, Iowa, you probably feel comfortable around 7.
I would have put Wisconsin's win total, and I better look at their schedule.
So if you're Nebraska and you take care of business against your non-con opponents, your lower ended Big Ten teams, and you win Wisconsin, you win Iowa, you win Maryland the last 3 games of the year. Now you're picking up momentum if you do win the Big Ten West to compete for the Big Ten championship.
This isn't like you think. So Wisconsin starts with Buffalo at home. Okay. Then they go to Pullman.
Okay.
Not a gimme. Probably be favored. Then you have Georgia Southern. So let's say you're
3-0
at Purdue, Rutgers at home, Iowa at home. I would put Wisconsin's win total at 8.
And in a first year with a new team, a lot of new faces.
Trust me when I tell you, though, that staff
figured it out quick.
Way good. I'd give them 8. 9.5 seems.
It seems
high. I was shocked.
It seems high. More coffee and cream next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. The 3-win conversation, I should say. That's a better word. The 3-win conversation between DB and I has sparked some other people chiming in.
I'm torn here.
So let's go to the phones. Asian Wyatt here with us to kick it off. What's up, dude?
Hello.
Hey, Wyatt, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Hey. So I'm thinking, when you talk about Minnesota, Northwestern, and Michigan, what it reminded me of immediately was the year that Mike Riley beat Michigan State. So it was like a really big win, but overall it didn't really lead to anything else beyond that. Whereas I feel like if you beat Iowa and Wisconsin, that's something of more substance that you can build upon for future years.
So where does because I'm kind of with you, right? Because I think that's what I was saying originally, where I think Iowa and Wisconsin will be players, right? And you have yet to do it. Where does not winning the opener, though, rank for you? You think this team could be better equipped to wet the bed early? Because in years past, it's ruined their seasons.
Well, I think if they lose the first one, but then they do go on to beat Iowa and Wisconsin, I think that shows good resilience. To start out bad out of the blocks, but then to finish strong. I think I'd rather have that.
So why, from an athlete's perspective, if you took down Michigan, you don't think that would just spark some confidence that has never been there before?
I think it could, but I think just for being a one time, it can be argued as almost like a fluke, just because
because it's like I said, it reminded me of.
I can get that. The fluke thing.
That Michigan State game, yeah, where it's just sometimes every now and then David does slay Goliath, but then.
But I'm sure going into this year, Nebraska probably feels okay with taking on Michigan State and thinking, oh well, we beat them. In recent years, plus with all of the turnover they've been dealing with, I feel confident that we can take down this team.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, Wyatt, and we've seen this before when you referenced Mike Riley, and it made me think when they started 8-0 and then totally crapped the bed. So if you under Andrew's scenario, you will have had a terrible October and November. I mean, you could be on the verge of losing 5 games if you're only going to win 6 games, right? If you under your scenario, if you beat Michigan, Northwestern, and
that's true because you only win 6 games in the scenario.
Yeah, so that means you lose the last 5.
Yeah, in my scenario, yes, you would win the last 5 in yours. So it's either do you have a really horrible start to the year or a really good start to the year.
Oh, appreciate the call, Wyatt. Thanks. I don't know.
I feel like you have to start off strong because if you do, the buy-in for Coach Rule will be even stronger.
So the thing that
you better win that first one.
See, that's the thing that's aggravating me because I know I like my answer, right? Because it's mine. I wouldn't say it. I have the opportunity to change my mind, right? I could just be like, I like yours.
I like yours. I like yours too.
But I need to beat Minnesota in the opener for my dream scenario,
right?
So I'm having a hard time reconciling that.
Yeah, when I put together this question, I did it last night, and I was thinking, okay, how do I get 2 Big Ten West teams in here? But if I take Michigan, I have to take a lower team in the rankings to really pair with then a Minnesota who starts the year.
That's where you got Northwestern.
And that's where I took Northwestern. Versus say like a Purdue or an Illinois, because you throw one of those teams in there and it seems a little more obvious. But then you take the projected 9-win team in Wisconsin, most likely the projected 7-win team in Iowa, and another 7-win team in Maryland to close the year. 3 straight wins. That'd be pretty fire going into a bowl game because think about this too. If you get 6 games, you're not competing for the Big Ten. But you get 6 games and you're going to a bowl game and you have 3 straight wins. Think about the confidence you're exuding at this point in the season. Gosh, now I feel like I could be talking myself out of my former scenario because I have momentum at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I have to mull that over.
It's really interesting.
Let me ask you this. Considering they play tonight and we're talking 6-6, Nebraska's record or the number of pitchers each team will use tonight? Shane, you good? You good,
So
boss?
you're saying that if I go with Nebraska's record,
6
both
and
teams
6.
will have 6 pitchers thrown?
Yeah, I'm in a good mood.
I am going to
They have to use 6 arms tonight, don't they?
I would say because we're trying to talk this out. I believe it's the 7th inning that they're resuming.
Correct.
Bases loaded for Nebraska. So Creighton's going to have who come in? A relief pitcher? And then if that pitcher does not
Here's the
pan
thing.
out well.
Here's the crazy thing. Both teams are in must-win situations this weekend.
Yes. Nebraska has to do it.
As does Creighton.
And
you have UConn.
Creighton's at a point.
You have UConn looming.
They shouldn't have been swept by Xavier.
Is that the moral of the story?
Yeah. So wow. Let's see here. I'm going to take over 6-6. So could I do like 6-7?
Are they going to a bowl game?
Well, I don't know if we got an extra game in there.
You win 6, you're going to a bowl game,
right? I'm going to say Creighton has to use more than Nebraska. How about that?
Okay, that's safe, but I like it. I mean, fudge. Can you imagine? And Creighton has the much tougher opponent on the weekend,
right?
But Nebraska has shown,
especially during midweek games,
you can't take your foot off the gas. But if Penn State gets into you with what you have at stake, being in the middle of the pack, oh boy, you gotta have some speaks. You've got to have some speaks. Because, I mean, this could take forever tonight. And you're starting a little early, so, I mean, that helps.
Okay, now I know you don't like speculation, but if, say, Nebraska doesn't make
I'll speculate. I just don't like crazy hypotheticals.
Say they don't make the Big Ten tournament. What does that mean for Coach Bolt? Like, are we still like, hey, no, he's fine, he's secure? I'm not saying we're on the hot seat or not, but
if they don't make the Big Ten,
don't make the Big Ten tournament, are you thinking at this point, like, is Coach Bolt really the guy? Are you thinking it? They may not lose him completely.
I think if they don't make the Big Ten tournament, Trev has the sit down that he had with Coach Wayberg and Coach Frost.
And says, this is your do or die year?
Or, you have to, basically, or you have to have that conversation about you can't just keep doing what you're doing. What's the new plan?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because we said this last year, and I get the sense we're saying it again this year. We keep saying, well, this isn't a Coach Bolt team. This isn't a Coach Bolt team. This isn't a Coach Bolt team. Hard nose, situational baseball, competitive at bats, stealing bases, moving guys over, just grubby, right? Just greasy, grimy, go for guts.
I mean, sorry you have power hitters.
But it's his team. And this is multiple years in. So it is his team. Because last year there was this grace period, right? Oh, I don't know how much he likes this team. No, coach is not going to say, I don't like that team.
Right.
Unless you're Nick Saban, and it was like, can't remember the year they had all the draft picks, and he said too many guys were worried about their draft stock. They ended up only losing 2 games, but Saban was pissed, right? You have to have the sit down. There's no nobody. We can't be above reproach, right? I mean, everybody's got to get better, and you got to take some self-inventory. But with this team on paper, if you don't make the Big Ten tournament, that would be a colossal failure.
Mm-hmm.
You
have 3 players that are projected to go in the top 5 rounds.
Yeah, all three top 60 prospects.
So you're looking at 2 of the best hitters in the conference on your team.
You also strike out too much, though.
But that goes back to competitive ABs.
I get the home run thing, but
that goes back to competitive ABs. But when you're swinging for the fences, you do strike out. You strike out a lot more. Now, maybe you can see some more pitches. Maybe some other players can see some more pitches. Work the count more. Try to get on base. But also, I've never been an opponent to the fact of you shouldn't be swinging when you're in the batter's box. Like, you should be working the count. Like, if you see the pitch you like, you go after it.
I'm with you. I'm definitely with you. I mean, Lord knows anybody that's been around me or coached me knows.
I used to always swing at the first pitch because majority of the time I let off in baseball games. First inning, what do you see?
You're going to think you're going to get a first ball fastball?
You always get a fastball. If you get a curve, you know what? He gets a curve, but more times than not, you don't have a starting pitcher that's doing a major scouting report.
And I get it. That's
thinking they can't blow a fastball
that's different than understanding hitters' counts, right? Yeah.
But more times than not, I don't want to wait for my pitch.
I'll take the over on 13 pitchers too as well. No, push.
6 and 6? Yeah, 6 and 7? Okay.
13.
We'll get into some guests next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency, 590 ESPN Omaha. We're live on Twitter, live on YouTube. We appreciate you joining us. And we are live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club alongside Damon Benning. I'm Andrew Rogers. Let's go to the phones and talk to Ryan Burns. He covers Minnesota for 24/7 Sports at Ryan Burns, MN on Twitter. Ryan, good morning.
Good morning. I appreciate you guys having me on.
I appreciate it. Thanks for being with us.
Ryan, we've been talking a lot about the first game of the year between Nebraska and Minnesota. The Gophers have a much higher win probability, but I almost wonder if that's because analysts don't know how to really feel or fully grade Nebraska yet under Coach Rule until they actually see it. But right now, based on what you've seen out of Minnesota staff and the team this offseason, would you two have them as a 75% favorite of winning this game?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, I have thought for a long time, since I think this is my 13th year covering the Gopher football program, that with Nebraska, it's never been a talent issue. It's just been getting that talent, I would say, deployed in the best way on the football field. And I know that Nebraska's always got great athletes. I mean, it's been very clear to me for a long time, but I would probably have it somewhere around 65% because I think there's a lot of unknowns between these two teams right now. Obviously, game one, year one of the Matt Rule era in Nebraska. But I also think that there's a lot of questions about Minnesota's offense right now. And I say that because the last time Nebraska fans saw this offense, it was an offense that resembled the service academies, where Minnesota ran as much as any service academy did last year. There were I think among Power 5 teams last year, they threw the least. And again, I know everybody loves to mock Brian Ferentz and the Iowa offense for being inept. And I think there's certainly time to spend on that. But Minnesota's offense has certainly started to evolve here, I think, in the offseason, where Mo Ibrahim was, I think, one of the best rushers in Gopher football history, and Minnesota leaned on him heavily. But now this offense in 2023 is evolving into the Ethan Kaliak-Manis offense, who's going to be their starting quarterback. He took over about halfway through the season last year. And where Minnesota's strengths lie now on offense is with their pass catchers. They return Chris Ottman-Bell for his 7th year of college football. He can almost rent a car at that age. They've got Brevin Spanford, who's going to be one of the best tight ends in the Big Ten, caught 42 passes last year, the most a Gopher football tight end has caught in 16 years. And then I look at what they did in the transfer portal, bringing in two-time All-MAC receiver Corey Crooms. Elijah Spencer was the Conference USA Freshman of the Year in 2021. And then they've also got Daniel Jackson, who scored 3 touchdowns in the final 2 games of the season for Minnesota. So I think, getting back to what I would put the win probability at, I just think that Nebraska, just as well as Minnesota, I don't know that anybody really knows what to expect in game 1 because you have no film to go off of, especially Minnesota going against the Matt Rule team. But I also think this Nebraska staff is going to be, I would say, a little surprised in what they see Minnesota's offense look like in 2023 compared to what it looked like last fall.
All right, so I've gotten a chance to know Coach Collins and Coach Rossi. They recruit the state heavily, in particular in Omaha. But on offense, right, it's going to be interesting. With Burns gone, you're going to go the co-coordinator route. The running game has been the staple. You just referenced the wide receivers. So this will be the evolution on the fly. Is Minnesota vulnerable with kind of the staff changes in addition to losing guys like Trill Carter, and I think you lost Brown Stevens, and you've had some key departures, Trey Potts. Is that enough of an influx in addition to the staff to be a cause for concern?
It could be. I mean, I certainly think that's one of the reasons why I have questions about the offense is your play caller from last season, Kirk Shiraka, left to Rutgers to go take $500,000 more a year, which I think all 3 of us can agree. If someone would offer me $500,000 more a year, I'm probably going to take that. Even though my loyalty might be to the head coach, it ain't personal. It's just business. And so that's where Minnesota's going to have a first-time play caller in either Greg Harbaugh, who, by the way, is in absolutely no relation to Jim Harbaugh, even though their last names are the same and they're both in the Big Ten. They're enunciated differently. They don't know each other. I get that question quite a bit. Or if it's going to be Matt Simon calling the plays. You mentioned Kenny Burns is now the head coach at
Kent State.
The Kent State Golden Flashes of the MAC. Now Minnesota's got a brand new running back coach in Nick McKissick-Luke. There is a lot of change, and that's where running back has gone from being the biggest strength of this offense with Mo Ibrahim and Trey Potts. And now Ibrahim has graduated. He's with the Detroit Lions now. Trey Potts is now at Penn State, which I think surprised me a little bit that Penn State would.
Now they've got a like 3-headed monster. 2 freshmen and the old guy.
I'm going to be very intrigued to see how he kind of fits in that room. The one guy that they did take from the transfer portal there, again, from Western Michigan, again, 2-time All-MAC. He's a guy by the name of Sean Tyler, but he is incredibly different than what fans will remember compared to, say, Mo Ibrahim. Mo is a guy that could get 30, 35 carries a game. He's that old-fashioned kind of north-south back. Sean Tyler in his college football career has only had 20 or more carries in 3 games. He's not a guy that is going to be leaned upon heavily. Now, he can do a lot of damage on 15 to 18 touches a game. He's a guy that if he gets into the open space, he's going to house it on you. But there are certainly question marks. I would agree. I mean, that's where it's a first-time play caller. It's going to be a running back room that is still trying to figure itself out behind Sean Tyler because there's still going to be 18 to 20 touches a game. They're open for either a freshman running back by the name of Zach Evans or Darius Taylor, or a 5th-year guy by Bryce Williams. So I think there's a lot of ambiguity there, and that's where there can be question marks, and it's going to come down to it. I am very intrigued to see who gets carries after Sean Tyler against Nebraska because I think that is very much open still.
I think Rossi comes highly touted. And listen, Collins has familiarity with Fleck. I think he's been there with him since Fleck started. You go back to the Western Michigan well with Seelig. He and Lindenberg come back defensively. Well, you get Seelig back from Western Michigan. Lindenberg back. You lose Soriano Marin, who ruined plenty of Nebraska drives in the last 2 years as the leading tackler. Do you make a smoother transition defensively with the minds that you have? Do you feel more comfortable because you found a way, especially on the back end, to be a little bit more consistent in the conference?
Yeah, I think defensively, I think many fans here have realized that to kind of doubt a Joe Rossi defense at this point, where I look at their 22 defense, and you look at the amount of draft picks that they had defensively last year. They had one defensive draft pick in their last draft, and they still had a top 5-10 defense by many different metrics. It's not, I would argue, is the best coaching job that Rossi's done in his coaching career, because they weren't spearheaded by 4 or 5 draft picks. Mm-hmm. And I look across this 23 defense now, and where I look at it last year, I think the 22 defensive line group for Minnesota underachieved more than any other position group in the Fleck era at Minnesota. There was no excuse for them to not be able to generate more pressure. It's something to where I think the only year of the Brick Haley era, who's now the defensive line coach at Purdue, I don't think Brick Haley will be missed much here in the Twin Cities, because they didn't get anything resembling pressure. Now they returned 6 of their 8 starters, or guys that rotated in defensively, another year older, another year in the weight room, and there's optimism that they're going to be able to be better there. But linebacker, you mentioned it, Sori Marion did so many things for Joe Rossi on that defense. He called the defense, he aligned it, and now it's going to be put on the shoulders of Cody Lindenberg, who I think has high expectations here. Both Rossi and Fleck have said they expect him to be the highest drafted linebacker in the Fleck tenure, no matter where he's been at. Now, I think that we're still a couple years away from seeing that type of ceiling, but it's going to be who is at that other spot, because they brought in Ryan Seelig. You mentioned him, someone who was productive in his time at Western Michigan. They brought in a Miami of Ohio transfer by the name of Roman Zolman, who they're going to be expecting to compete at Sam linebacker. But it's going to be how much can they put on Tyler Nubin's shoulders back there at safety. One of the best safeties in the Big Ten, someone who would have been a day 2 draft pick last year. I think safety has been a very good spot for Minnesota in terms of, the last free safety they had before Tyler Nubin was a guy by the name of Antoine Winfield Jr., who's about to get a gaudy second contract somewhere in the NFL. And now it's been passed on to Tyler Nubin, who has led the team in interceptions the last couple of years. But again, just like the 22 defense, where I thought linebacker and corner were probably your strengths, well, now they're probably your weaknesses. And it's funny how that always continues to change year after year. But there's certainly question marks that Rossi's got to figure out here as well.
About 90 seconds here. Something or nothing that the culture builder like Fleck and doing things a certain way all the time has had so much turnover, whether it's been through the portal or his staff during his tenure?
It doesn't give me a lot of reason for concern. Again, we mentioned, Kirk Shiraka leaving, someone who had been with him a long time, and I would argue it's a step down to go to Rutgers, considering what's their ceiling there, 4 or 5 wins a season. Well, I would tell you, as much as Kirk loves football, Kirk loves money. And when you like $500,000 more a year, and to be able to go back home, I think that makes a lot of sense for him. We mentioned Kenny Burns. He gets an opportunity to take a MAC head coaching job. You saw Brick Haley leave, who I mentioned. I would argue, like I said earlier, that was the most underachieving position group in the 7 years that Fleck's been here. So I don't think that's a giant loss. But it's just, and then with the portal, I think you guys have seen it just like we have.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Minnesota's had about 14, 15 scholarship guys hit the portal over the last 6 months. It's just this day and age of college football where, for a program like Minnesota, the biggest thing I have noticed is any depth that you possibly have, if those guys don't think that they're going to get snaps, they're just going to leave.
Yeah.
So it just is in this day and age, but I don't think it's a major reason for concern at all.
Ryan, we appreciate your time, man. Thanks so much. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Joel Lorenzi up next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes.
Drops it alone, back to Kyle. Bounce back to Jimmy. He's got Park. Drives right by. Right hand layup. He's too good. Jimmy Butler has 20 points. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio. Snaps it alone, back to Kyle. Bounce pass to Jimmy. He's got Park. Drives right by. Right hand layup. He's too good. Jimmy Butler has 20 points, joining Bam Adebayo and Julius Randle.
Top of the hour here on Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. That means your inflation. You can catch us on KFOR now, but if you are here in town in Omaha like we are, 590 ESPN Omaha is the best place to do that. You can also find us live on Twitter, live on YouTube. Before we get to our next guest, I want to take a moment and tell you about Dingman's Collision Center. Dingman's is the place to take your car whenever you have a problem, whether it's just a tire issue, which DB and I have both had in the last 3 weeks, month, awesome. And yours was last week. Yep, indeed. Or say it's something bigger, a bigger issue, whether it's an engine issue, interior wise, whatever it is, take your car over to Dingman's. 4 locations. They'll help you out. They're some of the best in the business, some of the best people in the business as well. And that's why we continually go back to them. It's Dingman's Collision Center. Let's go to Joel Lorenzi now. He's on the phone. Joel, good morning.
Good morning, guys. What's going on?
Joel, what's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm killing, man. I'm up.
How did NBA treat you last night?
Good. You know, I haven't put too much energy into that Heat series. I'm kind of I'm underwhelmed by the Knicks in this round, and probably still not stunned by the Heat, but I'm still getting over last round, and I mean, you got to give it up to Spo, man. That dude, that's probably the best tactical coach in the postseason left. So, but I've had my eyes on the Lakers series for sure. And last night, that game was fun.
So let me ask you this, and maybe you just answered it, considering Bam Adebayo is the second scoring option. Who would you give the postseason MVP award to right now? Would it be Devin Booker, Jimmy Butler, or somebody else?
Yeah, probably Jimmy, but I don't think Devin Booker is just far behind.
Yeah, there you go.
As much as I said, like the Clippers should have got them out of there last round, and they probably would have had Kawhi been playing, because he was still the best player in that series, I think, when he was healthy. But as much as I was saying that, like, I've really been surprised by the load that Devin Booker has shouldered, and the step he's taken in these playoffs. Like, I was under the impression, and I don't know why I thought this, because KD has showed us time and time again who he is. I don't know why I thought this would be closer to the dynamic of when LeBron arrived in Miami, where it was like, okay, you knew this was D-Wade's team, in effect, but LeBron was still going to be the best player on the team. And I'm not sure it's been that way for the Suns in these playoffs with KD and D-Book. D-Book has shouldered most of their load. I mean, don't get me wrong, KD's had games where he's looked like KD, but I mean, D-Book is popping off for 40-something here, 40-something there, playing his best defense. I've really been stunned by the level he's shaken, and the level he's been playing at. So while I'll probably give it to Jimmy Butler, D-Book ain't far off, man. It's really he's really closed that gap.
Joel, you said you were keeping a close eye on that Warriors-Lakers series, and I kind of want to know why. Is it because of the big names? Is it because of Curry, because of LeBron, because of AD, because of Clay, or is it because it's probably one of the more mediocre series? And I use that term lightly because of like how they played this year, right? Because of how the Lakers played, because of how the Warriors played this year, and because of how close they are competitively. That's what makes the series overly competitive.
No, I think what I've been watching is, man, you can't take for granted these last days of Steph and Bron. I mean, he's a generational talent. Like, it's hard to conceive who would fill their shoes, but they could be the last of their molds for a very long time. And so I try to soak all that in as much as I can, because I think I missed so much of Bron's prime just because I was a hater back then. Like, I just didn't want to watch Bron. And so, like,
I'm a hater because I was forced to watch it. So we kind of share the hate part.
Sure, but now I since Bron got to LA, well, really since Bron had that second stint in Cleveland, I've really respected him, man. And so I've tried to watch every moment I can. And while I thought that his time was dwindling, I mean, this dude still is in peak form for at least what anybody else would be at age 38. And then Steph's days, I would think, are numbered at age 35. But that's just part of why I'm so tuned in. And obviously, two great teams. I think they made really cool adjustments throughout this series. Obviously, a couple of games were blowouts because each team came to play those nights, which really upsetting. I don't watch those fourth quarters. I didn't come to watch Tristan Thompson put up points. But, outside of that, the two games that we've gotten that weren't blowouts have been fun, man. Even the beginning of those games that were blowouts, I just enjoy the personnel in these series, to be honest.
Let me get to Creighton real quick. I got a couple questions before I get lost in the NBA asking 1,000 questions. Let's say you get 2 of the 3 back that are in the draft, okay? Or at least the draft process. Do you bag that scholar? What do you do with the remaining roster spots if you're Coach Mack? Do you go to wait and see mode? Do you kind of chill? You like what's going on? What do you do if you get 2 of the 3 back, especially given their NIL situation, which is pretty on point?
I got to count this up right now, but both the guys they just got are on scholarship. I'm not sure.
They may not have one.
Yeah, I don't think they have one if they get 2 of the 3 back. I think the way it kind of worked out was it's almost pushing one of them out the door, and I think you could probably guess who it is.
With Trout too.
I think I could be wrong. I have to go back and count, but because I initially thought Vice was going to be, a walk-on, but he won't be. He's on scholarship, and I think they'll probably redshirt him. But that's a scholarship right there. So that's two. And him and Lawson, and so if my math is right, I think even 2 of them coming back puts them at the limit. So
go ahead,
Joel. We had this question, and this is sparked from your article that you wrote earlier this week when you sat down with Marcus Blossom. But he had said, you quoted, I bet this was your question. He had quoted, "Would I take the Elite 8 over the Big East Championship?" And Marcus said, yeah. But I would say a couple months ago, I asked DB a similar question. I said, would you take a Big Ten title or making it to, I think I just said round 1 of March Madness.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't say Elite 8. Now I want to ask you this. Do you agree with Marcus's response? Would you rather have an Elite 8 over a Big East championship, or would you rather have the conference championship?
Well, basically it came down to, and he didn't necessarily say this, but basically you're choosing between Marquette season or Creighton season. Now, I think based on who Creighton was and the early season skid and everything that happened, I think the Elite 8 meant that much more to them. And frankly, like, with the team they had assembled and all the pressure that was on them and everything at stake, I'm not sure anything in the regular season would suffice. Like, maybe if they tacked it on along with a Sweet 16 or then the Elite 8, a regular season title or whatever would have been cool. But I think there was, and we talked about this a little bit too, there's so much pressure to perform in the postseason because that's what people remember. And when people, think back on the team 20, 30 years ago, they're not thinking about a first round out. I mean, maybe they do because that usually means you fell short. But they're not talking about a team that lost in the round of 32, nothing like that. They're talking about the teams that went far, man. And so I think Creighton season, the way it capped off, based on the way it started with the 6-game losing streak, it only made sense. And I think that was the only way it probably could have ended.
So you seem like you have good discernment for when I pit it against your experience of being around different kinds of leadership at this level. Some of the ins and outs of Coach Mack, kind of how that program runs. 2 years removed from Bruce Rasmussen. How do you feel like Marcus's leadership style lends itself to how the basketball program is ran? Because I don't think there's any question that's Coach Mack's program.
Right. Yeah, I think Marcus not only gets in where he fits in, but I think he knows where to show his face and what decisions to make and what things to back. And I think that he's clearly in terms of like raising money and stuff like that, like he's been on top of stuff. And I think, I don't know, like he's like as much as the coaching staff finds teams to play, signing off on Bama, I think, is one of those decisions that probably elevates you as an AD. I mean, that was something. You take the criticism of the fans from last year, where like, you know, you're not playing nobody, stuff like that. Or at least at home, they were saying you're not playing nobody. And they like, okay, well, we're gonna do a home and home with Bama, and signed off on that. So I think he's made the right decisions when the times have come. But you're right, it's Mac's program, and I think he understands that dynamic too.
Joel, we're talking to Joel Lorenzi at JX Lorenzi on Twitter, Creighton beat reporter for the Omaha World-Herald. Joel, you talked about elevation. How does this team, this program, elevate from last year's results next season with still some uncertainties with those in the draft?
Hard to say until the smoke clears and you know who you got. But assuming they get, I don't know, if you can only get 2 out of those 3 back, let's say it's Trey Alexander and Ryan Kalkbrenner, then obviously the expectations are going to be for them to get right back where they were. And I think that's pretty fair. Obviously, you got to have a lot of luck to get back where you were and whatever, do it twice in a row. But I think they'll have the DNA. They'll probably have a better bench. They'll have an older version of Trey Alexander and Ryan Kalkbrenner, having played a summer against, you know, relative pros and future pros and whatnot. And so I think the standards will be high, but you can't really say until the smoke clears and you see who they have. Because I think easily, if, like, let's say in the worst case they lose both those dudes, and I think that's when you have to recruit, DB. Let's say you lose both those dudes in the worst case scenario, the expectations, even while you have still Ashworth and whoever, the expectations fall off a cliff, man.
Mm-hmm. Joel, let me get you out of here on this. One last NBA thing, only because I know you're kind of off on the Knicks. You called the Cavaliers the most disappointing, and I get it, right? In the regular season, you have Milwaukee, Denver, the Clippers, the Lakers, Golden State, all in the top 15 in turnovers. In the postseason, it was led by the Cavaliers. They're at home. Second was Milwaukee. They're at home. Third is Golden State, soon to be going home. Then Sacramento, the Clippers, both at the house. Memphis at the house. The Knicks up next, could potentially be going home. Do we underappreciate, because we certainly overlook it with Golden State, what empty trips mean in the NBA? I told this to Andrew. Well, there's about 7 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter last night. The Knicks were down either 9 or 11. Mm-hmm. They'd shot 40% from 3 and 53% from 2, but they couldn't rebound, and they turned the ball over. Do we underappreciate taking care of the basketball at the NBA level? Because all I hear is we don't play defense.
Well, that was a loaded question, DB. I'll answer the front end. Good teams win home games, man. I remember when it used to be like a team would go up 2-0, and this was back maybe 10 years ago when I first started watching basketball. A team would go up 2-0 in the postseason, and you wouldn't even break a sweat because good teams won home games. You would just trade 2 games. Now it's like, man, dudes be losing first game of the series. Like Harden, to watch Harden do what he did first game in that Boston series, I was like, good Lord, like, what am I watching? Because granted, like, Harden at his best, like we've seen the 2 games out of the 4 games they play. Harden at his best is a problem, man. But you know, at his worst, not always the most helpful. And so, it used to be good teams win their home games, and that's why I think as much as I've been impressed with the Lakers since the deadline, you know, I thought. Hold on, you might be connected to my car speaker here.
My man is just on the move.
Season, I thought through this postseason, watching them, win the majority of their home games. I don't know if maybe they lost one game at home last series. I don't remember, but they take care of business at home. So my opinion has even further shifted on them. And then taking care of the ball. I don't know if my opinion has changed on taking care of the ball. I mean, obviously it's a necessary thing. I thought the Knicks got beat at their own game last night. I mean, the way they crushed Cleveland was the old boards, right?
Glass,
and
yep.
and you're seeing Miami just absolutely go. There was probably a 45 seconds to 1 minute stretch where I'm seeing Miami get the ball time and time again on one possession. I'm like, great heavens, like, are these the same Knicks that had people talking crazy about Donovan Mitchell? Like, let me know.
All right, I'm gonna get you out of here on this. Who do you have more confidence in with the series even? The Sixers or the Suns?
The Suns. I actually think the Suns are kind of in a groove now. And while I'm surprised at the load that Devin Booker's shoulder, he hasn't really showed any signs of slowing down or that he's not capable of continuing to do so. And he always has KD as a crutch. Like, I know KD is kind of like the Robin right now. And I said that earlier, that KD is showing who he really is. Because if you look at how many times, and Barkley, people clown Barkley for the bus driver thing, but he wasn't wrong. He wasn't so far off. Because as a first option, I mean, KD's teams have gone nowhere since maybe OKC when he was
although they could have beaten the Bucks. They could have beaten the Bucks. So that's
coulda, woulda, shoulda. He wears a big ass shoe. Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Yes.
I'm tired of talking about that. I'm tired of talking about that. Like, we discredit Giannis's ring so much.
No, listen. Two things can be true at once. That team was the Nets had no business being in that game. None, except for KD. Give the devil his due, and you can do it without hating on the Bucks. KD carried them. Stop.
They were good, and he was great that postseason. But how many times have you seen that from KD? And then look at the offensive firepower they had. I mean, good God, you're never. The way we were talking about that team, it was unprecedented, man. It was
Kyrie wasn't even playing. like, what are we talking about?
Kyrie got hurt, but no, that team was a 2K team out of hell, man.
Oh.
When they were healthy, it was nuts. And so this is what KD's working with as a first option. I mean, the last KD team I respected when he was a first option. I'm not going to count Golden State. The last KD team I respected when he was a first option was probably Brooklyn, and before that, he was like my age with OKC. I've never respected a team more than that OKC era. Even though all those dudes turned out to be MVPs and Serge Ibaka was like an all defense caliber guy, they had a squad and they were a self-made squad, man.
Hey,
and KD was a genuine leader on that team.
Don't forget, as the player of the year in college, they couldn't get to the Sweet 16. Also, and that team was nice at Texas. Couldn't get them there.
And see that it takes a lot of luck, man. You got a generational player in KD, and it takes a lot of luck. So that's why I say, even if they get whoever back, it would take a lot of luck to get back where they were. But the expectations should be the same, if not raised, for Creighton.
Joel, we appreciate you, man. Thanks so much. We'll talk again next week.
Yeah, talk to you soon, guys.
Hey, see you, man.
My man said, big ass shoes. People hate on KD for that series. He was fantastic. And I can say that without, because Micah gets mad at me because he's a huge Giannis guy. And I can say that without diminishing the Bucks' accomplishment because, I mean, that was a good Bucks team, but we weren't ready to give Drew Holiday any credit. And we were like, well, what would you do with Middleton? You know what I mean? Like we weren't fawning over that Bucks team. We were fawning over Giannis.
kind of what happens, though, in the NBA. You fawn over 1-2 guys.
So that's the reason why I like this Lakers team, what they're doing, because it's not always the usual suspects.
Well, it's not your super team.
You know, I mean, they're
like,
okay.
Yeah, you bring AD with you, but AD hasn't been healthy, and he's starting to look like
look
the
at
AD
that,
of
look
old.
at that makeshift backcourt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man down, man
I mean, the most
down.
consistent wing is Austin
Reeves. Mm-hmm.
Although Vanderbilt is balling. They got him in a throw-in.
And they're hot.
I hate how he wears his headband, but that's okay.
Ooh. And when the Lakers are winning games, you can wear your headband anyway.
Yeah. I don't mind Golden State. I wish they were doing this to somebody else like Phoenix or Denver.
Meet me at the rim.
Because I like Steph a ton.
Yeah, I don't know if either of these teams, now that I watched them, can compete with the Suns or Denver. And if they both played each other.
Oh, look how 48 hours has changed when I said that.
Oh, not 48. This was probably a week.
When I said
yeah, you
the
did.
de facto Western
but this was last week.
But do you think and I've kind of gone the other way. I much rather the Lakers play Phoenix than Denver. Even though Phoenix could win the series, I dread playing against a disciplined, good Denver team. At least Phoenix is streaky, and that would give the Lakers a chance.
Yeah,
I don't want Denver's consistency.
I think you guys would be better off, though, playing Denver against the Lakers because AD can shut down Jokic.
Okay. AD have 4 fouls.
And who's shutting down LeBron?
No. The enigma known as Michael Porter Jr.
Oh, yeah? I remember that guy.
You talk about a guy that looks like he doesn't care about the results.
Edward?
Yeah, him too. Wow. Scissor hands.
Hey, I want to bring up something DB did say a while ago next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Yeah, I'd say John Bullock was one of the best players on our team this spring. The John Bullock's I think he's a starting caliber player. I think he's a guy that'll have a future, hopefully, at the next level. And so making that move for him from safety to linebacker, I think unlocked a whole future. And, you saw some glimpses of MJ Sherman and Jamari Butler and, Chief Borders and, Garrett Snodgrass. We have a lot of guys out there that I know can go out there and play. And Makai's another young player that, so I don't mean to signal anybody out or forget anybody, but there's going to be a lot of competition at linebacker heading into the fall. And I think the way that we practice will give guys an opportunity to show what they can do.
Again, that's Coach Rule talking about, hey, John Bullock is somebody that's turning heads. Coach Rule speaking with Greg Sharp on the Husker Radio Network.
Thank you for that
yesterday.
Content.
Sports Nightly. We appreciate that a ton. And to top it all off, I appreciate when people are right. And DB was right in this instance so far, to where we opened spring predicting who we thought could emerge out of spring. And the first name out of DB's mouth was John Bullock.
Thank you.
Fist bump. John Bullock is somebody that I then talked about a little bit later on. And what I really like about him is that he is a yes man. And it plays into his work ethic.
Yes, sir.
To make that transition
that would be
from
Coach
back
McGuire
to linebacker is not easy, especially when you think coming out of high school you're going to do one thing, and now you are getting thrown around and you're trying to find an identity. Well, his identity stuck with this linebacking core. And because of the way he holds himself together makes him the player that he is on the field. So DB, well done on your part. And also to add to that, we talk about all these coaching visits. John Bullock's a huge reason why Omaha needs to be a primary stop for the team 40 minutes north.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Or west.
He's telling you exactly what you need to know, right? The linebacking room will be highly, highly competitive. I want to go back to something you asked me about chemistry and camaraderie. Shane, first of all, good on you for pronouncing that word correctly. Did you tell him that it was said?
I did not.
Very good. Because if
Yes,
you'd
sir.
if you'd have said camaraderie or rye or something like that,
I should have spelled it COMMORIDTY.
That's pretty good though.
Commando.
But who did I say after the wide receiver room?
You said linebacking.
The guys on the second level.
Mm-hmm. And then you said DBs.
Because they have to play on a string in this defense. And it is going to be highly, highly competitive. And you could be a guy that is accustomed to one thing, and it could be completely different going into camp, where rigor will be a thing. He told you all you needed to know by when he said, practicing the way that we practice. I think a lot of guys will have the opportunity to show what they can do. That's code for we're going to get work in and you'll have your chance. There will be no, because you're an incumbent, we know what you can do. So therefore, let's see who's the next best of the rest. Not going to happen. So in my opinion, the best ability in fall camp, mark my words, will be availability. The best ability that you can have in fall camp will be availability.
Staying healthy.
And of course, I get a little giddy, even though it was at my expense, right? Because at one point I was just deathly afraid to miss practice. I'm telling you, ask anyone that was playing during that stretch where you could go 4 deep at any position. Ask Foreman sometime, or Jamel Williams, or Terrell Farley, or, we were rotating. I watched the game last night, 93 Oklahoma, where Nebraska was rotating 4 defensive ends, and one of them was Trev Alberts. Trev you can take Trev off the field, right? But I know why Trev stayed on the field. Because if you sit too long, then guys like Dante Jones play. The more guys like Dante Jones play, the more you feel like you have to play Dante Jones. So that linebacking room, like, you're going to have to be able to handle the rigor, the Reimers, the Henriches, those guys, like, you gotta be able to play. And he said something else I thought was interesting. He kind of slid it in there. Did he say play on Sundays?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did.
And that was another point I was going to get to. He said I could see him being a guy that plays at the next level.
Yeah. So there are a couple of guys that
you're not going to sit that guy.
He makes you uncomfortable.
You're not going to sit that guy.
He makes you uncomfortable if he's on the bench. Those are the guys that you want to play. And I think if I could give one piece of advice, well, it wouldn't be probably number one, but a piece of advice I would give to coaches is I would, even at the high school level, and I certainly do it at the youth level, everybody gets reps, because I want to have options. I really do. Not everybody's on all the time. And sometimes you need, sometimes you just need different players.
Mm-hmm.
But too often, let such and such get it. Or you don't need to. No, man, everybody needs to get reps, because you're gonna listen. Christian Jones isn't getting any better if I don't have Spady or Nick Anglum, or even when we move Rezak to safety. Like, I wanted depth. Do you know why? Because practice needs to matter, right? Like, even our offensive line, we would play.
Also, you need some experience at the position.
And you know what? Like, guys, it's just human nature. We don't make ourselves uncomfortable enough. We like it comfortable, right? We're mad if we're in the drive-through line for more than 4 minutes.
That we are.
We're mad if stuff doesn't heat up as quick as we want it to. We're just
impatient.
We like things too easy. And so
you want it to come easy.
The more that we can do that, and he's telling you. And I think 2 of the 3, somebody asked me for a 4th, and I said Isaiah Harris, but 2 of the 3, Harburg and Bullock will be right there. I think Booker the 3rd or 2nd will be right there. Now, Cephala, and there are some other guys that had really good springs. In the secondary. But you best believe that group better be tight knit too, because Coop's tough, and he's kind of a dog, and he's hard on you, and you better be able to take it. But the chemistry in that linebacking room has got to be critical, especially the way this defense plays.
Well, and I think it played perfectly into Bullock's hands by making this change at really this point in time, because you had so many new faces in there, because he's not afraid of competition. In fact, his work ethic probably is built for competition opposed to the easy route that we were talking about. And so if you can get somebody with that mindset in there that will compete every day for it, somebody that didn't play that position in full, that, again, you make the transition from safety to linebacker because it gives you more opportunity to play. And then you also have a coach in your ear that's saying, hey, stick with the development plan, stick with this process. I will make you a Sunday guy eventually. As a player, you're like, say less.
Yeah,
I'm there. I'm going to run through this wall for you. So good on Bullock, but you're absolutely right. The camaraderie aspect of the whole thing is what is going to have to gel more than anything else.
Yeah, imagine being, because I'm going to count those guys on the second level. Imagine being an open side outside linebacker in the jack spot. So if I'm Blaze Gunnerson, MJ Sherman, Chief Borders, Caleb, Jamari Butler, we better all kind of be on the same page and encourage one another, because there's some other guys coming where I better be able to cheer for you with a common vision. Otherwise, this isn't going to work. I can't say it any simpler. That's why I kind of defaulted and got away from the O-line and their chemistry, because 5 of those guys play at once, and they got to be on a string anyway. It's those other guys and kind of those individual-ish positions that isn't really individual that you better be able to suck it up. Wide receiver, you got to be able to play more than a boundary, a boundary receiver, get out and play the X and be in the slot, and know that other people can do that too, that you're competing against. And you have a inexperienced room. Yeah, Marcus Washington or Isaiah Garcia Castaneda and Kemp. And then what?
Frankly, you have an inexperienced coach too, like somebody that hasn't been around that long. Like, yes, he has good stops on his list.
The camaraderie in that room will be paramount.
Something we didn't even mention today, A.J. Allen going to Miami. You like that spot?
I do.
ACC for him?
Yeah, and everybody wondered, how good is he? Pretty good.
If you go to Miami, you're pretty dang good.
Pretty good.
But that all factors into that camaraderie aspect that we didn't even mention, the running back room. We'll talk Michigan State next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning. We'll be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Welcome back, Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers, as we wind this thing down on a Tuesday.
Going up.
Thank you.
On a Tuesday.
We're live from the
you. Don't
H&H
worry.
Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club, where, we just like to spill things. We like to spill anything, whether it's information or whether it's objects. We just like to spill things for you out there, our listeners. We appreciate you. Let's also bring in now Brendan Moore, Michigan State football and basketball staff writer for Spartans Rivals at BMoreCFB on Twitter. Brendan, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are we?
Good, Brennan. How are you? Are you keeping up with all the change? And like a lot of places in college football, you have to check the roster.
Yeah, I think change is the right word. I mean, pertaining to Michigan State, last day of the transfer portal that was open a couple Sundays ago. I mean, it was just chaos. Early afternoon. I mean, kind of unexpected news. So I'm sure we'll dive into that.
Yeah. So where are we currently with the curious case of Keon? Right. It's like we post and we pull post down. So we kind of know where his heart is. He loses his quarterback a couple of days earlier. Cade McDonald goes late, another wide receiver. What's with the curious case of Keon?
Yeah. So other programs were telling Keon Coleman to get out of East Lansing because of Michigan State's quarterback play. They said, hey, they used Jaden Reed as an example, who just went in the second round to the Green Bay Packers. They said, hey, Reed could have gone first round if Michigan State had better quarterback play. That's what they were saying to Keon. You need better quarterback play to improve your draft stock. If not, your draft stock is going to, not be realized to its fullest potential. So that's what the other programs were saying to Keon Coleman, to get him to enter the portal, to get him to come to their program. And last day of the transfer portal being open, he enters the portal. And so he's going to a big-time program. He's either going to be, looks like Florida State. He was just on a visit. He's going to be visiting Ole Miss this week, I believe. So Keon's definitely an interesting study here. And then also you mentioned Cade McDonald. He entered the portal last minute as well. He just committed to Miami of Ohio last night. Not really a huge loss for Michigan State there, but he just added a little bit of depth in the receiver room. And you look at Michigan State's receiver room now, it's kind of bare. I mean, you got Trey Mosley, who realistically on a good team, he's a good receiver, but realistically he should be a second or third option as opposed to a number one. So it'll be interesting to see how if Michigan State grabs someone out of the portal or if they kind of stick it out with who they got.
Now, Brendan, you said better quarterback play is what he's looking for in regards to Keon. Out of the two choices that you listed there, what would you say is the best spot for him to land if you're looking for good quarterback play? Or would you say neither spot
is good enough for Keon? Or would you even say, hey, if he still wants to play basketball, who knows if either of those spots are available?
Basketball has to be in the cards.
But basketball might be in the cards. I do not know. He wanted to play basketball this year for Michigan State. That kind of fell through. He wanted to, pursue football more because that's what he's better at. So I mean, basketball still could be in the back of his mind, but I know football's at his top priority. I mean, if you're looking between the two programs I mentioned, Ole Miss and Florida State, if I were him, I'd go to a team that I think has a shot at winning a national championship this year and has a proven, solid, reliable quarterback in Jordan Travis.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Travis has improved so much over his college career, and you look at Florida State's receiver room, they're absolutely stacked. I mean, they have matchup nightmares everywhere. Johnny Wilson's like 6'7". He's a stud. They have a couple of other guys. I know Micah Pittman just entered the portal for Florida State, but they still have a lot of depth in that receiver room. I think Keon would really add to that and be maybe their number one option, maybe a number two option, because Keon's a perfect combination of size at 6'4" and speed and getaway speed and acceleration. I think Keon's a perfect package for a wide receiver that can really add to any team he's on.
Let me ask you something. It's like we're speaking of curious cases, and I wasn't a huge Benjamin Button fan, so I don't know why I keep saying that, but it is weird with a guy like Mel Tucker who has consistency in the message. His first couple of days in East Lansing, he sounded a lot like his last few days and first couple of days in Boulder. He seems to be a guy that likes things a certain way with culture. He got off to the good start. Obviously, the pandemic, you beat Michigan a couple of years in a row. You make the run through the portal with huge additions. You get the big contract. The portal giveth and it taketh away. What is the consensus on the consistency of Mel Tucker's message?
Well, people are starting to get a little fed up with the Tuckerisms, the deep chopping, the relentless stuff. That sounds good when you win football games, but it gets annoying when you don't win football games. So the attitude this year, kind of the vibe around the fan base is, this is a prove-it year for Mel Tucker. This is year 4. His roster's got to be all his players now. He's got to get it done this year. And I'm not saying he's got to go out and win double-digit games. He's got to at least improve upon that 5-7 record, make a bowl game, go above 500 ideally. 8 wins would be great. I think that's a little out there. I think 7 would be a good season.
He's got a monster buyout. Like, you can't be at that stage already, are you?
I don't think so. Not yet, because he's still got to give him time. He just lost two of his staff members. I still think you got to give him time just because of what he took over Mark D'Antonio at the end of his tenure. Left just a wasteland of talent. It was basically a MAC level football team that was in East Lansing in terms of talent. So I still think Tucker, he's getting towards that hot seat conversation, but I don't think he's there yet. I think this year's a prove it year because 2021 you win 11 games. 2022 you win 5, and also that COVID year you won 2. So which is which one is the fluke? I mean, are they going to go back to their 2021 form? I don't know. And I remind you, 2021, I think their preseason win total was at like 4.5 wins, and this year look, it's anywhere from like 4.5 to 5.5. So I mean, we'll see, but people are starting to get a little fed up with Tucker.
Hey, Brennan, how much of a surprise was it to see Peyton Thorne enter the transfer portal? Because to us outsiders, it was, wow, didn't see that coming. But I want to know if the response was the same in East Lansing.
Yeah, when I saw the news, I had to do a double look. But the more I thought about it, it wasn't terribly shocking because Thorne has been, in my opinion, a little mistreated by the Michigan State fan base.
I get it.
2021, he had a really good season. It led the team to 11 wins. Yeah, he had a really good run game. So that definitely helped. He had Jaden Reed. But 2022, he dealt with a ton of injuries. He opened up about it after the spring game this year. He said it was multiple injuries pretty much throughout the season. He fought through it all. Whether that's the coaching staff, I think the coaching staff should have subbed him out maybe for a healthy Noah Kim as a backup quarterback there. But I mean, Payne Thorne, I think he got an unfair shake last season. He still did all right. His stats kind of show that, but interceptions were high. He was just really inconsistent. So I think a lot of the hatred towards Thorne from the fan base goes to that 2022 season. So I think it was smart for him to get a fresh start. I do think he has professional football potential, whether it be NFL, USFL, XFL. I think he's a solid quarterback. He's a good kid. So I'm rooting for him at Auburn.
So is it Noah or bust, or what are you thinking at the signal calling spot?
It's going to be between Noah Kim and redshirt, I believe he's now a sophomore, Creighton Hauser, who's a 4-star coming in, Michigan State. I think Kim's going to win the job. He's more experienced. He played a little bit last year, mostly in garbage time. But I think Kim's going to be the guy. I thought he had a decent spring game. He had three or four probably best throws. He wasn't as consistent, in my opinion, as Thorne. I think Kim, he has a high ceiling, in my opinion. If he can establish some more consistent, I think Noah Kim will be the starting quarterback, but expect to see a little bit of a battle between Kim and Hauser going into fall camp.
A lot is made, especially around here, the last 4 or 5 years of the spring practice format, real football versus not real football. Watched you guys a ton situationally, the pass rush and stuff out of the end zone. And is everybody okay with kind of the direction that the program looks like they're moving versus the results that they want to see as a fan base when it comes to the offseason?
Yeah, I mean, by the looks of it, everything's seeming to trend in the right direction. Recruiting, Michigan State's been recruiting better than it ever has been.
Well, a year ago, that class was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, they added a ton of 4-stars, so I think 2023 has gotten off to a little bit of a slow start for high school recruiting, but it's May, so they still got a lot of time, and they got a couple new staff members that they got to kind of implement into the trail. So recruiting, they're doing really good recruiting than they ever really did under D'Antonio. In terms of direction, everything looks to be going up and improving, but I mean, people care about the results on the field, and if everything off the field's good, you still got to be able to get it done on Saturdays. That's the name of the game. That's what Mark D'Antonio was able to do. Sure, he wasn't the best recruiter, but he was able to get it done on Saturdays, even with not as talented of a roster as like Ohio State ever had, or Michigan, or some of the other Big Ten teams that he consistently beat.
Brendan, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much. We'll talk again soon.
All right, sounds good.
That's CNC today. We'll see you again tomorrow.